It's 9 o'clock. We'll call the meeting of Moore County Commission to order and we'll start with the pledge of allegiance.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our first item of business is public. So I'll just go over what the rules are for giving public comment. This is a chance for the public to speak to the board. It'll be us that you just keep it civil and this, so. And then we'll start with the people in the room that have comments. And then we'll go to the people on Zoom. So if you're on Zoom and you want to comment, please just raise your hand once we get done with the people in the room. Okay, who would like to start first? Yeah, Emily. Oh, and then when you get up here, could you state your name and where the city you're people know, and if you're affiliated with a group that's doing business or what with the county. Thank you.
Emily Roberts with Moore County Health District. Although we can't change the path, important for residents to know how we got here. In April of 2023, the currently seated commissioners voted to invalidate the 2021 ambulance service area plan and revert to the 1998 plan. The Oregon Health Authority did not ask them to do this. OHA had approved the 2021 plan and the county had already been operating under it for 2 years. OHA does not require counties to enact ordinances when a new ASA plan is approved. ORS 682.031 simply says if the county does enact an ordinance, it must comply with the ASA plan. At the same meeting where the county invalidated the ASA plan, they voted 2-1 to approve a letter of support for DFRD to provide ambulance service in opposition to their legal counsel's recommendation. It's reasonable to conclude that Moore County revoked simply to give DFRD another chance to become an ambulance service provider. DFRD provider in 2021, they were rejected because their plan relied on seizing MCHD to operate the service. After invalidating the 21 plan, the county did not make progress on a new plan until September, when MCHD issued a letter to the county stating that due to serious ongoing safety issues in the field, we were considering giving a 90-day notice to vacate the service. After meeting with county representatives, we believed we were on the right path to resolve the issue. Unfortunately, after submitting feedback on the draft plan and ordinance, we did not hear back from the county. Instead, the county submitted a plan and ordinance to OHA that still contained problematic provisions, such as the ability to seize our assets. Our legal counsel considered the situation and recommended that we give a 90-day notice to discontinue service based on the fact that the county started an approval process which could have been immediately enacted and MCHD would have been forced to work the terms of the new plan and ordinance, giving the county the right to seize our assets if we then gave notice. At this point, we've come to agreement on the ASA plan and ordinance, and the only remaining piece is the service contract. Without a service contract in place, our current ambulance service will cease to operate on March 13th, 2024. In order to avoid this, the county could immediately execute a 2-year extension agreement with MCHD. A 2-year extension is necessary for MCHD to be able to safely staff the service. We have serious concerns about the county's ability to provide substitute services, and we continue to hope that the county will make the right decision.
Thank you. Who wants to go next?
Here in Palmcoast citizen, but I also work for the city of Oregon. A couple of things on the agenda, Commissioner, and from Matt. I'd like to draw attention to the others 5F, which is the notice to award intent to the $1.7 million. From administrative experience in that, I believe there needs to be a little more information and detail for the public, such as it just says it's going to GSI Waterworks. I don't have a good. However, what is the parameters? for the, in the RFP so the public can be aware of. We hear thrown around back and forth transparencies. I think you look at most cities and most other jurisdictions, they put that in there. And then what are the dollar amounts and why was one chosen? Not just because they met it. That doesn't say a whole lot. The other item is the ambulance service agreement. I want to be very, very clear. Well, I agree. I'm administrative and have told that to Matt that the documents that were done and there was input are correct and so that they look cleaner than what they did initially back in December. However, there's rumors that are flying, and I want to say, and so as this last night we as a city met, there's still very much strong support in Irigan and how do we keep Irigan whole? What is before you today to interim agreement, and I think that that is very fallible. I know you have something for by the 13th of March. However, I think that it's sending a message to the community and the public. And I think that personally, as a member of the community and as a participant and user of Morrill County Health District, I think to the table, Morrill County and the Health District, they've been meeting, but it needs to be a little more public and say, why can't Morrill County Health and our local fire departments in Hefner and partner with the Health District? I will strongly say that there's people not only across Oak County, but in Irigan that do not want Boardman Fire or ambulance over here. That needs to, we stand firm on that. And I think the commissioners need to hear that and say, get to the table, stop doing the dancing and make it work. I'll say that as Emily already pointed, we're at where we're at. And so I think that you need to look at it. You've got an agreement before you. Put it off at least another week or two. Look at it, ask questions. Otherwise, it's not going to get pretty. And I feel very, very strongly about that. Matt, step to the plate, be a little more cautious on the plate, especially with some of the furthest flying on recalls.
Where we want to go next?
Good job.
Done. Yeah.
Ron Kilkenny, Morrill County resident. I'm also served with the Morrill County or the Hefner Rural Fire District Board, but I'm speaking as a personal citizen. Look at the proposed plan with Boardman Fire as interim server. With Matt met with all the fire districts, representatives throughout the county. I can tell you the plan is not well thought out. It's not going to work. They have come up with it. I asked Matt, I wish you'd been working with the health district instead of Boardman Fire Department. And he said, I've only met with the Boardman Fire Department 3 times for a few hours. Well, that's what the plan looks like. It looks like somebody's high school homework assignment to come up with an ambulance service plan for this entire county. There's 2 people working 48-hour shifts in each communities, Hefner, Irigan, and Boardman. 2 people, that's all, 48-hour shifts. Now, what if an EMT worker or paramedic has small children or family that they don't want to be away from for 48 hours? They're to be at the hall for 48 hours. Guys, you don't think about that. You can't just plug these widgets into your model and make it work. But so there's 2 people in Hefner, and if there's a call for an ambulance, Hefner, 30 miles outside of Hefner, that ambulance rolls, right? And it has rolled for years. And when we call 911, we know the ambulance is coming. Now, there's no backup under this plan. The backup is in Boardman and the backup is in Irigan. So now if there's a second ambulance call and the other side of Hefner, 30 miles an hour, that ambulance is rolling out of Boardman unless they're on another call in Boardman or Irigan at that time. How are they going to get there? It's going to take 2 hours on a foggy night like last night driving home. Matt, you drove back at 2. Happens all the time. And the 2-hour response time under this model because there's no backup in Hefner as there currently is. And so if your backup from Hefner comes out of Irigan, now who's going to serve Irigan? You know, this thing is so ill thought out. And I know that they've drawn you in, Chief Hughes, to come up with this plan, and I feel like you're pressured to come up with it. It's gonna fail, and if I was you, I would run as far away from this plan as possible right now, because when it
30
fails,
seconds.
it's on you. And when it fails, if somebody's having a heart attack or stroke and they're waiting an hour and a half to 2 hours for this ambulance to show up, what's the result of that? And the thing is, currently, with this system, we know it's gonna work. We know when we call 911, the health district is on the way. Get to the table, which you did yesterday for the second time in 2 years, get back to the table and sign a contract with Morrow County Health District so they can continue to provide the services that we all
Time.
deserve. And thank you for all you EMT workers for everything you've done. You're heroes in my mind and everyone else's mind.
Thank you.
Okay, who's next?
My name is Gus Peterson, and I am running for Morrow County Commissioner, position 1. I am immensely disappointed in the way the ambulance service area situation has been handled. From my perspective, the county has been changing their reasoning dependent upon who they are talking to. Morrow County Health District has been told that signing a new long-term contract would be unreasonable as the new ASA will be approved soon. Yet the proposed plan with Boardman Fire Department can go 180 days. 180 days of limbo on ambulance service is not soon. As someone who lives in the largest community in Morrow County, which is the unincorporated community, 180 days of having one ambulance in the south of Morrow County is not, and that's not good enough. Being willing to blow up the ASA with no plan in place seems to have been very unwise at best. I can come to an agreement with Morrow County Health District long-term under either the 1998 ASA agreement, which is what we are currently operating under, so there is an ASA agreement, or with the one that has been proposed. 2 of the commissioners made it a platform when they were running 2 years ago that they would listen to the citizens. Big part of how they ran, I know because I was running with them. To Morrow County, overbearing, we support the Morrow County Health District, and that is what we want. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's up next?
Morning, my name is Lori Seitz. I live in rural Lexington. Worked for Morrow County Health District for over 20+ years as a quick response team and with the ambulance. I urge you to sign a temporary contract with the health district to continue the excellent service that has been provided. Will you take time to fix this crisis? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'm Jody Ferguson, and I am a Morrow County resident, and I live in Lexington. As we've all seen, there's a proposal for Boardman Fire to provide ambulance service for the whole county. They state that there will be 2 ambulances in South Morrow County, but if you read closely, you will see only one will be staffed. So I'd like to give you a 911 scenario. 911, what did you see? My father just had a heart attack, and we live at 123 Church Street in Heppner. Dispatch response. We just dispatched an ambulance to Ione for another emergency 3 minutes ago. We'll send out a second ambulance crew from Boardman. And so we no longer have quick response teams in your, so hold on and may God be with you. Imagine your wife, your sons, your daughters, your grandkids standing over you, crying and in total panic, not knowing what to do other than just wait. This could be any one of you commissioners, and you should want more for your families. If you won't listen to the people of Morrow County, listen to your families and what they do not want to experience. You have to lead this fight and advising you. They're not even from Morrow County. And frankly, they have not lived here long enough to understand our EMS system. On a daily basis, I'm hearing that they're having epiphanies about how it really works in rural areas and then stating, I had no idea. No kidding. That's very obvious. I'm disgusted with the time that has been allowed to be wasted on backup plans, meeting calls, town hall meetings where we'll listen. When this valuable time could have been spent negotiating with Morrow County Health District to come up to an agreement that is best for the residents of Morrow County. Now, 19 days before the county commissioners are responsible for EMS services, you're asking providers to be able to staff these ambulances. Employees already do not want to move to Morrow County. Work in an unstable. Not to mention the natural shortage of providers in the US. This is not going to end well. And you're going to see that very, very quickly. I hope you guys have a lot of money to spend on EMS services and wrongful death lawsuits. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Janet Greenup. I am from Heppner, Oregon. And I just want to say that our family has a long history with the health district. With administrators, nurses, PAs. We've done it all. And I just want to say, if it's not broke, why are you trying to fix it? Because this isn't going to work. Housing prices are going to go down. People are going to move out of Heppner because they don't have a job. Nobody's going to move to Heppner because they don't want to live in Heppner or Morrow County, period. And like Jody said, I hope there's a lot of money because $4,000 a day is going to take away from other special districts who get funded through the budget process.
Well.
My name is Stuart Dick. I'm gonna speak to you because I've spoken to them for last year and they don't listen. No, that's a waste of time. They've got a preordained agenda from the get-go. And if you look at the minutes from the Boardman Council or the Boardman Fire District, you'll see this has been planned from the get-go. Health districts from the beginning. It's a hostile takeover. Mr. Sykes gets up, says, this is by law, what I've got to do. We inherited a mess. You did not inherit a mess, David Sykes. You inherited a wonderful system that worked for nearly 30 years. OHA approved it, certified 100%. Ruined what the previous commissioners did, and they did it in 2016 as well. It worked for 30 years. You came in and you ruined what these wonderful people have put together. You were never honest about this. Honest without you. October 27th, you told Morrow County Health District you gave them 6 days to respond to the new ASA. I shared this before, goes in one ear and out the other. Here's what you said to Morrow County Health District. Thank you for your response and comments. We will review those and provide feedback before proceeding. That was a lie. November 13th, Emily Roberts. I got this from Freedom of Information, by the way, so don't blame it on her. Morrow County Health District, can we get a status update on this? Do you think they might have been a little bit concerned about wanting to see what the new ASA was going to be? Jensen, I anticipate sharing documents and feedback before forwarding to OHA for review. 27th, can we please get an update? This is from from Morrow County Health District. They're getting desperate by now. I know you think it's funny. It ain't funny. Here's you. My
30
apologies for
seconds.
the delay. I am awaiting final documents from our legal counsel. I will reach out to you as soon as I receive them. That was a lie. Bold-faced lie. What did you do on the 12th, on the 11th of November? You sent it to OHA. You didn't even give them a chance. It was a designed plan from the get-go, folks. A hostile takeover. That's what it is. Anybody knows you differently, they're dishonest. And if they'll take out the whole county health district, the
Time.
hospital and the clinics. Because these commissioners will do that, trust me.
Okay. Anybody want to speak? Anybody next?
I just want to share this. This is not where we wanted to go. This ain't where we wanted to go. But we want to be heard. If we have to fire all three of you guys to get rid of this guy, we're gonna do it. You should ask for his resignation immediately. Hope you ain't buying a house here because you're not wanted. You're not wanted, you've created this
Let's
problem.
keep it civil, okay? Don't do attacks on people.
This is an attack. You've attacked us. You've attacked our healthcare district.
Keep it on the
You,
issues.
a Hefner
okay?
resident, have
Let's keep it on the issues, okay, Raymond?
It is, we didn't want to go here. You forced our hand. You forced our hand, and the signatures are rolling rather quickly.
Yeah, anybody else? Okay, nobody else in the room. Is there anybody on Zoom that wants to? Okay, Andrea, you want to go first?
And mute her and do this. Second. Andrew, you're unmuted and you can start video if you'd like.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
The audio and video virtually is poor quality this morning. So if I'm interrupted or if you can't hear me, maybe I could email Valerie my public comment and it could be read in room, but I'll start and see how it goes.
Right now you're
Is that
coming in
okay?
clear, but do that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Andrea Fletcher, Morrow County, resident just outside of Lexington. Despite public testimony offered beginning a year ago, and additionally in person, strongly urging that each commissioner and the interim and current administrators throughout the past year that you contact and consult health, human and social service providers, and the health-related organizations that make up the system of care for Morrow County. Contact was not made either with individuals representative of organizations or as the collective body of the Community Health Improvement Partnership for advisement. If you're curious, the public, this body is comprised of over 25 multidisciplinary partners and is the backbone of knowledge of health and community and deep with experience. If you had contacted these organizations that provide care, program, or services, you would have heard from the school districts, early childhood education programs, domestic violence services, behavioral health, oral health, the Eastern Oregon Coordinated Care Organization, and obviously too many to name. But this is what they'd unequivocally say. When making policy, it's a priority, first and foremost, to sustain the local healthcare system for rural health. Here are the challenges we face. Here are the needs of our county. Here's where we should prioritize resources and immediate attention. Here's where we have assets. Here's where we're already cooperatively providing cross-disciplinary care. All of this is gleaned from data, information, and experience locally. These conversations would have provided vital and appropriately timely information throughout the past year for you to make informed decisions. Without talking to the very people with local expertise in the health field, it's extremely difficult to understand the provision of care for frontier and rural areas for our local residents. And it also would have helped people understand why people are working so vehemently to protect the public structure specifically created to ensure access to care. There is no disputing the value of Boardman Fire Rescue, but this issue transcends one organization and affects the entire county. Choosing to fracture the emergency medical system, which is intertwined with the larger system of care, indicates that the consequence of this action is not fully understood. It has a significant and negative impact on current community health and the long-term sustainability of EMS and the safety net of care. Please contact your local partners for their knowledge and experience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. Next, Kirsten?
I'm here. So for me personally, when I'm reading everything and seeing everything, and then you guys come out and put that Morrow County Health District does not want to extend, doesn't want to cooperate, but yet we're all watching what everybody else is watching and seeing that they're trying to cooperate. They're trying to come up with the 2-year contract. To me, if you wanted to work with them, the 2-year contract means nothing. I mean, if you actually truly plan on working with us, it shouldn't be that big of a deal to sign a 2-year contract. I have seen what happens when you pull ambulances out of rural, and it may have been in Northern California, but it took losing 2 of our community members to heart attacks for us to bring it back. To me, this is not good. I don't want to have to worry about my children, my neighbors. Matt Jensen, you shouldn't have to worry about your wife or your child and Ione, just like I shouldn't. It's the same thing with you, Dave. You've got your grandkids.
Please don't get personal. Don't bring my family into this, okay? Bring any of our families into this, please, Kristen. Just stick with the issues.
Okay.
You know, there's.
Shows true colors right there, Dave. Shows true colors right there, Dave. All I am saying is, do you want your families, including mine, everybody in this community, to have to worry about something happening to them because you guys don't want to cooperate? To me, this is not okay. This is insane. I don't want to see losing our friends and family, our community members, because you guys are just not wanting to play nice. This is silly. I don't understand this. I've seen this. I don't understand this. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Who else on Zoom? Raise your hand if you want to speak.
Not singers.
Okay. Okay, so that brings to conclusion in our public comment section. Thank you all for all of you who commented. And now we'll move on with the rest of our meeting. The next item is the open agenda. Does anybody have anything you want to add to the agenda? No. Okay. And next we'll go to the consent agenda. Is there anything you want to pull out of that and talk about separately?
Sure, thanks.
Yes.
If we could ask, we didn't have a full opportunity through the system to review the item 4C, 6th Amendment while it was added. We didn't have final approval from the attorney and our finance director, so we just asked to table that one and pull it out of the consent agenda and table it to the next meeting. So I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of items A and B with C being pulled until the next meeting.
I'll second.
Move the second and further. It's 5A, Morrow County. Just.
It's actually right down the hall. Let's grab it.
Great. Kevin, Morrow County Finance Director. Give me 1 second here, apologize, I was meeting with somebody and wasn't watching the stream. Okay, so this is request that I'm passing on to the board for consideration that we received from the Morrow County Health District. They've requested some financial assistance of $8,000. The details of that are in the letter that they submitted, and they specified that they're requesting it from the available ARPA funds that the county currently has. We met with staff, met with representatives from the health district and talked through the request and use of funds perspective. As you're aware, the ARPA and funding that the county has, we elected to receive it under the general the revenue replacement category, which takes the guardrails off, and the county's got the discretion to use that funding for any governmental service. I think the only thing that's restricted is using it for lobbying or any political activities. So as far as the ability and whether or not that fits within the guidelines for the use of ARPA funds, it does. And I didn't have any concerns with that. This would be structured as a if this request were to be funded, we would structure it as a beneficiary agreement with under a beneficiary agreement with the health district as a beneficiary and not a subrecipient of funds that take some of the onus of the oversight. That can get complicated if we do subrecipient agreements with federal dollars. And I believe Nicole said she was going to be here today. So how did you want to proceed? She can talk to the details of the question more.
You want to ask questions to Nicole, or what's your thoughts on that? Sure. Yeah. You come up. Got another chair for her?
I'll stand off to the light.
Here, I got you right.
Hello. Well, tell us, just tell us your title and who,
Nicole Mahoney, Chief Operating Officer for Moore County Health District,
and you're like the
CFO
chief,
as well.
yeah, CFO. Okay,
Yes.
so you handle all the finances for the health
Yes,
district.
I actually have for 20%
Yeah, I
for the
know,
health
yeah,
district,
right.
so,
Nobody knows more about it than you do.
yeah, acutely aware of it. Can I make a statement about
Sure,
it?
sure, sure.
Or
I
you
think
guys just wanna ask questions?
Justify your request.
All right. So obviously I would first and foremost ask that you, all set aside your differences with the district at this moment over EMS services and consider this request on its own merits. It's for primary care and emergency room subsidy for post-COVID fiscal, recovery. Our funds from the state and federal government have ceased ended last year. We are still in the phase of fiscal recovery. We're daily making changes to our operations to not fill positions that are open, to combine light positions to cover 4 clinics instead of 2, or to make changes in all the ways that we do business. We've been on spending freeze. Our staff can the challenges of that since the fiscal year began. While we've had large overruns in staffing costs and inflation costs in areas that we cannot control, we have cost controlled the areas that we can, where we're 600,000 under budget, our expenses, but our revenue shortfall is 2 million. So we're 1.6 down overall for 6 months of the year. Our cost report last year came in at $1.2 million. So there will be a sizable takeout of that bottom line, but it will not eradicate all of it. The required staffing line, the cost of providing that for physicians and temporary staff for nursing, pre-COVID to now has doubled. So in the entire time that I've been the CFO, we have not come to the county for operating support, not once. So not during COVID, we haven't come. We've used all of our other available resources. So at this point, we don't have another source to ask, and we know that you have $1.9 million to allocate to this specific purpose. We could, their eligible expenses in our payroll and benefits will immediately be spent. So there won't be any question about whether we can spend this within your timeframes. I feel like you might think it's a large request in terms of its combined dollar amount for each individual clinic and the hospital at 200,000 each is not a large request compared to the amounts that were already funded under this program to smaller entities, such as Willow Creek Terrace or Senior Matters. I just feel like the extra support would make a great difference to our operations in this fiscal year, and know that we are very good fiscal stewards of the public's money. Our public tax dollars are a really small market of all of our funds, like big public ones. So while we're having challenges this year, we are looking towards stability for the future, for next year, and facilities and service lines are closing across the country in post-COVID. We're having to restructure the delivery of care. We're up against a lot of fast self-service telehealth. You can get a pediatrician on the phone at midnight for $20 instead of going to the ER. But we still have to staff the ER with a physician that costs twice what it did pre-COVID. So we just have a lot of challenges. They're very separate from their EMS issue. This request is again for primary care, emergency room staffing. We really could benefit from the commitment of funds from the county.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, if I'd like to say, and I think we still agree. We'll look at this, this is totally separate from the ambulance, you know. We want a healthy, you know, health district. 800,000 is a lot of money, so, you know, we feel if we ask you questions, it's because we're doing our due
Absolutely.
diligence. You know, being good stewards of the public's money, you know, and we do separate the other part. We did, and, you know, recall, we did give money to the assisted living. Now, I know that's not the hospital, but we believe in, you know, you guys manage their facility, I think.
We do.
Yeah, we gave them 150,000. So we believe in, you know, in taking care of.
Yeah, and that was greatly appreciated and used to stabilize our operations.
Yeah.
And they're a completely distinct
I know,
board.
I know they
members.
are. I was just using that as an example of, you know, that we support, you know, health. And they're not really health, but
Yeah, they are.
yeah,
They're
okay.
Very much health.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, anyway, so, you know, with that said, any questions you wanna?
So, you know, I appreciate the response, and I think my takeaway from why you're in a worse position than ladders, because telehealth is a lot of it, and provider expenses are up. Is that fair?
Yeah, utilization is down across the US in terms of primary care services in brick and mortar. And we do offer telehealth, but there's a lot of other expanded telehealth that's available that wasn't there pre-COVID. And people they're reprioritizing how they access it.
So does that happen in the last 6 months, or how long has that been ongoing?
It has been the last year. We've seen a significant amount of it emerge as specialists can run a business on cash and not have any staff and building, and can make a very good living providing telehealth services to, you know, in rural America where you have a limited population, but you're trying to be available and provide services and be open. It literally is very challenging. And like I said, many facilities closing because of it. I mean, we're having to reinvent how we do things and how we staff and how we, you know, all of our, anything that can be subject to review or reduction, we're looking at. And we haven't the entire year. This has not been something that we just said, oh, this is a problem right now. We've had our eye on it for a very long time.
And so I guess where I wanted to go with that is that, you know, I read here and it's a COVID, so I spent a good part yesterday going through your audited financial statements that are on your website. And I see since 2019, your net position has increased every year. And in your audit, your auditor states that looking at your net position is a good way to look at the overall health of an organization. If it's going up, then you're doing okay. And again, you know, it's increased 2009, 2020, it went up, 2021, it went up, 2022, it went up, 2023, it went up. And I know that there's other things that play into this, but then, you know, we look at, you know, your revenue stream. You say that, you know, this hasn't been 6 months that telehealth has come about. That's been going on for over a year. So look at your total operating revenue. It's gone up, like, you know, your financials don't go back and show 2019, but shows 2021, 2022, and 2023, and every year it's gone up. So, you know, when you say that the migration from brick and mortar, your financials don't bear that out.
Yeah, they actually do. I mean,
Well, not your audited financial statements that are on your website, because in 2022, your net total operating revenue is $13,545,541. In 2023, your total operating revenue was $16,213,414. So that's $1.8 million round numbers. Total operating revenue.
which includes COVID provider relief funds in all of those years.
No, this was operating revenue. This wasn't non-operating revenue. Because And the HHS Provider Relief Fund in 2022 was 478,000. In 2023 is 1,040,000.
Mhm.
And that shows up on your audit statement as non-operating revenue.
Okay, so
And
just
when I
making
look
sure
at,
that you're.
I looked at the
Right.
total operating revenue, it's above that on your audit statement,
Mhm.
was $60 million. So your audited statements don't show that you're having a decrease in business. Now, I did go look at your financials that you put out for your December board meeting, and I see that revenue has gone down
Mhm.
year to date.
Yes.
But when you said that it's been ongoing for more than the past 6 months,
You asked about telehealth being ongoing. Not
well,
specifically.
you said that there's been a shift in the way that people access healthcare, and it's been going on for more than the 6 months.
Yeah, in prior
So that-
years, we had.
To me, that would have meant that would have, to me, that would have meant that people have been moving away from brick and mortar, not just the last 6 months. And, so then I look at specifically the places where you want the money. In 2023, the revenue is more than it was in 2021. Emergency room revenue is more in 2023 than it was in 2021. The Oregon Clinic, it's more than it was in 2021. So what I'm looking at here isn't supporting what you're saying. I'm not saying that I'm not willing to look at, providing you some relief here, but I guess we also want to know, is this just a Band-Aid that's not going to do this? Where would we be in 6 months with the $800,000? Is the health district going to have a plan that they won't, because, 6 months, a year from now, there won't be another $800,000 available from the county because those dollars won't be there.
Mhm. We're aware it's a one contribution, but there is
So-
a plan in ahead. And so in just like the revenue numbers, you negated to mention anything that I said about the increase in expenses in relativity to that.
I will grant you that, but your statement that is presented to us is that revenues are down. Your financials paint a different picture.
Our revenues year to date are down below budget, $2 million. So that's a fact. I mean, you can see that on our website as well. And I also have a copy of it with me.
But you said that it's because of telehealth, and you said that that's been going on for more than a year.
Okay, it's.
We're not gonna, we have a difference of opinion.
Okay.
I guess I got a question. What is the plan? Usually there's only, two ways to get in the black, and that's services or increased revenue, or combination. Oh, what's your plan moving forward to make the health district?
We're assessing every revenue stream, every service line, every facility. And there could be cuts in services, there could be cuts in service lines.
Yeah, any idea what that's gonna be though?
Well, I'm not ready to make a public statement and release a plan for next year. At this point, we're just starting our budget process and with regard to our budget.
We can jump over to a little crossover. Is the ambulance is a money loser, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
What if you were to short it? Then you'd save money, correct?
Oh, my God. What if you were to subsidize it like we've asked for in the service contract?
Yeah, well, and I'll just put where the county's position, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong here. Okay, our position on the ASA is, we're kind of getting rid of it now, is we would like the health district to not stop service on the 12th.
Okay, I ask you to consider this request irregardless of the ambulance. This is.
Okay, well, you
separate
kind of,
thing.
okay,
No,
I got
can
it, I
go
got it,
over
I
to it.
understand.
You asked me directly
Got it.
if the ambulance was a money loser.
Yeah, and if that was, I just wondered if that would work into what, what they're looking at to make things right in the health.
Yeah.
I asked you to consider
Yeah,
this on its own.
I know, and you said you're not ruling anything out.
And emergency room.
Okay, sounds good enough. All right.
I don't think tying this to EMS is
Well,
gonna be.
no, I'm not tying it. I'm just saying. One of,
Our expenses are, regards, since you set aside our ASA last April, our personnel costs related to ambulance are extremely high. Do you know why? Because people don't want to work in Boardman. So we pay overtime to people that work elsewhere to pick up shifts there because it's so it's a hostile place to work. And I can get you the cost overrun on that Boardman ambulance alone. So we've had to cut other places in order to meet grants because of the BOC's decision to give uncertainty to people's jobs clear back in April. 10 months. People don't.
going down the path.
Okay, well, you brought it up.
Okay,
so if you
I'm
wanna
gonna
talk about
continue
why
with
you
what I
want-
said. Our position is that is, and like I said, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. We would like for you not to pull, we want you to
Okay,
do
so
this.
now you're gonna try to hold this money hostage over the EMS.
No.
situation. Yes, you are. That's what you
No,
just
no, I'm
said.
not at all, no.
That, it is.
No, I'm not.
It is.
I'm not, I'm just explaining, I don't want to do that at all, you know, I wanted, it's totally separate. But we started down the path and you kind of put your position out there, and so I think we should have a right to put our position there. We would like the health district to continue, we would like you not to come to stop service on the 12th. We would like you to keep doing it for 90 days until the ASA is back from Oregon Health, and then we can negotiate a 5-year contract with you, which is what the ASA is normal. It's a 5-year deal. That's what we want. We want, just keep going, no instability, just give us some time, and then we
We'll
can,
give you 2
we can
years.
sit down and we put some money
Give
on
you
the
2
table.
years.
and
The
we
board
will
funds for 2
subsidy.
years. You'll have 2 years to figure it
Oh,
out.
wait a minute, let me finish, okay? We listened to you now, okay?
No,
you
haven't.
Oh, you have. I didn't interrupt her.
Yeah, you're blackmailing us.
It's hard to.
Do the guidelines allow you to withhold money
You
over
want to
the
give the
EMS
county
situation?
position, and there's people that probably don't want to hear it. I want to give it.
You need to keep these
Uh,
separate.
So.
You guys,
Please,
excuse
can
me.
we have to discuss, please, the audience, I mean, I'll call a recess here if we have to, but this is between us. Please don't everybody just gang up and we'll just have a free for all. That's not gonna work here. So that's our position. I
Is
think
it?
everybody can-
Have you voted on that? You talked about it ahead of time?
Well, that's what.
Yeah, it sounds like
No,
it.
no, but we have, that's what's been, are you saying that is not?
You're digging a
Well,
hole.
that is,
Give
you
the
know,
funds for the 90 days.
well, the health district, we continue for 90 days. ASA back, then we negotiate with you for a 5-year contract.
Okay, I'm not
I
at
don't
liberty
think
to
our
represent the
funds
board.
let you withhold the money or put.
Sure.
That's not-
I would ask for,
They do not.
But
bring the
it-
meeting back into order.
Yeah, okay.
The ruler. And follow.
All right, let's back to the request.
Last has spoken. It's not blackmailing. Yeah.
So with the health district being, you know, we hear a lot about transparency and stuff, and when I looked at your board packet from December, you know, something that I saw missing different from what the county provides. And you provide it and I couldn't find it. But do you publish, every month the county publishes, basically I'll call it an AP ledger. And it's very detailed. As I'll use as an example, we list Morrow County Wranglers as a vendor. It may say equipment 231 wiper blades for this dollar amount, and it's billed to this department. Does the health district provide an AP ledger like that?
Not to that detail. We could provide fast by public request. We have transparent records, but we're not gonna publish. That's not us.
Well, ours doesn't go before us. does not go before us.
Okay. Well, you
Monthly Kevin provides an AP ledger that's for our review. So, you know, the health district be willing to provide that for 36 months, and then, you know, that we can see where your dollars have been going.
So you
Because
want an
you're-
audit of our records.
Because you're wanting 800
You're questioning what exactly are you looking for in the AP ledger?
to see that the expenses are where you say they are. Because that's-
You're challenging our work that's been done, clean
Because-
audits every year, but you're challenging that for 36 months.
Is there a reason you don't want to give us?
No, I'm happy to give it. I'm wondering why you're asking for it. Is there an allegation that we've misappropriated funds or that
We're
we
just
haven't
doing our
been
due
short?
diligence.
No,
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 you're
there's not.
doing our due diligence.
If you'll let me, if you'll let me
Did you
respond,
ask for that from the people who asked for their money?
would you let
from
me
this
respond?
fund?
Would you
Nobody
let
asked
me
for
respond?
$800,000.
I'm not questioning your audit's validity. It's that your audit is not going.
And I'm not gonna go to every paper invoice and write that down. That would
What
be,
about just a vendor summary?
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Payroll costs.
And
You asked others this?
No, they haven't asked anybody this, because I was at both the meetings for the other funding requests. In fact, I helped them with them. And none of these types of questions were asked regarding their requests. And so the fact that it's 800 total, it's 200 each facility, which is not a huge amount, considering the size of each organization, each facility, each entity, each clinic, and the hospital. It's not that much more than the other two funding requests that you funded. You didn't ask for any of this kind of information. If you want to look at our records from a financial standpoint, then make a public records request.
I understand
It shouldn't
people,
be tied to this ARPA request.
understand people have done that, and the response is those records aren't available, or you were gonna charge them $150.
Well, if they
Oh, so
wanted
there
something
is a-
that's not available regularly, we're allowed to charge a fee to produce them. And it does take staff time to accommodate a special request with special information. So if we have it already, a general AP ledger, that's easy to get. It sounds like that's a separate issue from this ARPA request or why we want it.
Not necessarily.
Well, if you've made the request or wanted it in a different format, or someone requested it in a different way and they didn't get it, now you're asking it in this avenue under the auspices of our.
You just said that information was freely available.
It is.
So
Well,
we're,
let's, how about if we just kind of go off the dime here?
You asked us to ask for more.
Kevin, you have a response.
Yeah, well, just some additional information. And Nicole, I apologize, when we met, we were working on a full reconciliation and current balance of the ARPA funds. And I think when we met, I said it was 1.9 million and it's actually 2.2. That's uncommitted.
Oh.
Matt, could you bring up my?
Yeah.
And I'll, didn't have an opportunity to finish this prior to the meeting, but I'll submit it so that it can be posted. For So, the left-hand column, looking at the line items, those are the actual expenditures that have occurred. So the outflows of cash. The column to the right, total committed, is represents the amount that was originally committed. And then the farthest right column, not distributed. those represent funds that have been committed, not yet expended. So for the most part, it's the grants to the food pantry, your Oregon Board of Emergency Assistance Center, Neighborhood Center. And then the second payments to South Morrow County Seniors Matter and Hetner Daycare, which are South Morrow County's matter will happen this. Formally submitted or approved yet for Hetner Daycare. Again, that was something that I didn't have an official request come in yet. And then the request for Stokes Landing Senior Center up here in Oregon that hasn't actually been funded yet. So again, just wanted to provide the detail since it was timely to this request.
Okay. What do you want to do with this request?
So I have a question on the board. Here, is that like a set that you are gonna definitely spend the $200,000 at each facility, or is it $800,000 to spend?
No, we could spend 200 to each facility and prove those expenditures for payroll and benefits. And it's still open a full-time provider. It's still open the same number of operational hours that the other clinics are open. So,
Except for in December. Because December, we didn't have a full operating clinic in Board.
yeah.
Close for more than half the month. And that was due to staffing, I guess.
Mhm. Staffing and some training needs and not by our choice.
Okay, any other questions of Nicole? Or Kevin? Thank you. The board pleasure on this one.
Review and consider.
So you want to see a certain financial, what if we make it, you want to make a motion to contingent on us receiving the financials and then make the award or not?
You know, to be honest, you know, when the county's looking at whether we go with an interim or we enter into a contract with Morrow County Health District, they make clear that there's going to be a subsidy. And especially in the short term, when it hasn't been budgeted for, I say that the ARPA money is going to probably be the source to pay for ambulance services. And, you know, if we, that is the one pot of money that we have to go to provide for ambulance service. Because in the interim, we'll have to have that money, and it sounds like, you know, going forward, the district's part of it, they will want to be subsidized to provide those ambulance services, and I see that as a pot of money to pay that from.
Okay.
But, you know, I don't know what the red, well, I don't know what you two think.
Do I hear a motion in there?
Do the right thing.
Well, I make a motion to grant the funding contingent on them supplying the accounts payable to us. Or the summary account payable.
So, question, I guess I can't.
Second.
The second, so.
Okay, no second. Okay, that motion has died. Not for a second.
So,
That's crazy. Any other Please, keep it down. Please. We don't want this to get out of hand. No, that's not how you run a meeting, is everybody chiming in all the time. Please, please, you know. Anything else? So I guess this request.
Table it.
We'll make a motion to table.
tabled. Already done.
Until we get the records.
So you want to table it until there's an accounts payable summary,
Summary.
or the vendor summary?
Got a motion?
I'll make a motion. On the motion, we table it until we have all the information we need to make a.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Moving second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carried. Okay. Next up is. Ask the audience, just not let this turn into everybody chiming in. Let's, we want to run a orderly meeting. I'll ask you, please.
So we have Bob Blackmore on the line as well. With the 90-day notice to vacate that that Morrow County Health District has provided, we've needed to look at.
Matt, excuse me, I'm sorry. Could you tell everybody who Blackmore is?
Bob Blackmore is the legal counsel that's been engaged to help with the ambulance
For the
service
county.
for the county.
Okay, thank you.
And as we've looked at it, while we are continuing to have a discussion with Morrow County Health District, we are making arrangements to provide through who expires. We'll continue to work on options, but we will have this in place in case there's any issues that go on. We are finalizing details on that. This is the biggest part of it is the contract for ambulance provisioning. Boardman Fire Rescue District is available to do that. And at this time, we bring this contract to you for review and acknowledgement. I am not asking for a signature at this time. I'm asking for review questions, anything like this, before it's brought to Boardman Fire Rescue District at a special meeting that they have scheduled. And then we would either have a special meeting or authorize me to sign the contract in first page of the staff report. They'll stage 2 ambulances in all 3 of the ASAs with 1 staff response 24/7. That's similar to what the ASA requires currently. Billing, BFRD will coordinate all billings and provide reconciliation reports. The charge for this is $3,975 per day. However, that does not include the billable amounts coming back for the Northeast and the South regions. The county would receive that for the North area, the Boardman area. Boardman Fire Rescue District would retain those. There would be a 10% administrative fee on that. And we're finalizing locations. Just one of the things that was brought up last night is some people are on the illusion that all the ambulances are going to be coming out of Boardman. That's not the case. We'll have one located in each one of those, and we're working on coverage similar to like, currently we have a staff ambulance in Boardman, one in Heppner, and when one's dispatched, the other one floats in between. Of course, they currently have backup calls through EMTs and QRTs. We'll be looking to build that system as well. We're hoping to keep this in interim service as short as possible. Again, we're still working with Morrow County Health District on possible solutions. And we are awaiting word from from OHA on the ASA, and we'll be expediting that as soon as we receive word from that. So the contract is set up for up to 90 days to expire as soon as we have an opportunity to accept and implement the new ASA. And so this is a contingency plan and will provide ambulance service to throughout the county.
Okay. That this, I didn't go down to the request sheet. This doesn't ask for a suggested motion, does it?
The motion on this is more or less if you just an indication if you'd like to schedule a special meeting to approve this so the Board of Commissioners has authorizes it, or if you'd like to authorize me to sign it at a future time.
I'd like to take a look at it. Before we do.
Okay.
So, I don't know what you guys go to.
So you'd like to take a look at it after Warman
Fire,
Fire
don't you?
meets and-
Yeah. Make it final. That, you know.
Yeah.
It's up to you. You
Either
make a
process
motion
is
and
acceptable.
you can make a motion and go with what's suggested if you want. I just throwing out my preference.
Rescue district. Contingent upon that it doesn't change from what's been presented to us. If there's changes to it, then I think that we need to review it.
It's on there for you, so I'll second that.
Okay. We'll move in second. Could you read that back to us, Valerie?
You
You guys
want me to
always
read-
ask me when I'm in the middle of.
I just want to make sure I understand.
It was to
Approve the
approve the
process.
county administrator to sign contingent that what's presented in the contract doesn't change.
Okay, same thing, okay. Okay, then moving in second and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Okay,
No questions, though. That's nice.
you know, there's people that are on boards around here, a lot of you're on city councils. And, I don't think you appreciate the public, making comments and throughout your meeting, So have a little, this is what we want too. I mean, we got city council people here, we got health district board members and work people. And I don't think you appreciate people yelling from the audience at you. So I would ask you not to please do that. Please. Okay. Next item. Notice of intent to award contract for the.
C.
No. Oh, Oregon Department of, yeah, we jumped down.
Thank you guys for making the recall petition signing so much more easy.
Oregon Department of Forestry, Forest Land Conservation Committee, Boston.
Good morning.
Whenever right now.
Okay, perfect. He's pulling it up for me. Good morning. I'm Dustin Gustavson. I'm with the Oregon Department of Forestry. I'm the John Day Unit Forester. Joining me today, actually two of my co-workers, Justin Lowry, Unit Forester out of Pendleton, and then Wendy Eddy, fire planner for Northeast Oregon. So this forest land classification, this process occurs around the entire state. And I think you had some talking points or documenting your board book. Did you have something like that? Okay. So it has pretty much everything in there, but so this process has been going on statewide for about 90 years. And it's been since the 60s since it's been updated in Morrow County. And so we can go through a quick presentation of what forest land classification is. And I guess I'll just ask Matt to maybe go to the next page there. as that's working to get pulled up. Forest land classification is a process by which, if we can click on that bottom left, what is forest land classification? Maybe you did.
Yeah, I see it on mine. I'm waiting for it to update on this one, so.
I apologize.
There it is.
Okay, so forest land classification is a process by a county convened committee. And that's why I'm here today, is to get a committee convened. The committee is made up of 6 members, 1 member appointed by the state forester, 1 member appointed by the state fire marshal, 1 by OSU extension, and then 3 by yourselves, the county board. And what that committee does is it looks at all the ground within the county, essentially. And we're using the definitions of forest land, which are ORS 477. And I think they had that in that talking points, forest land, any woodland, brushland, timberland, grazing land, or clearing that during any time of the year contains enough forest growth, slashing, or vegetation to constitute in the judgment of the forester a fire hazard, regardless of how the land is owned or taxed. And so the county committee basically goes through the ground within the county and decides, does it fit into the definition of forest land? And then there's multiple classes of forest land. There's class 1, which is west side timber, so we don't have to worry about that. Then there's class 2, which is predominantly timber use, which also coincides with grazing. And class 3 is just standard grazing ground. So even though we say grazing, we're talking about overarching definition of forest land that grazing fits underneath. And then we also look at what is kind of agricultural ground. And that could be, is it let's say a 40-acre center pivot that's irrigated, and we'd probably look at that and go, does that really constitute a fire hazard at time of the year? And typically, we would cut that out, and that wouldn't be classified as forest land. And so this committee also advises the Department of Forestry on where do we put our boundaries, our protection boundaries, because we protect forest land, private forest land within a county, across the state. And so that's kind of forest land classification. And go ahead and click on the next piece there, Matt. And so all this process is driven by statutes. I'm not going to read the statute to you for you, but basically there's ORS 477 and 526 are the main 2 statutes there. Forest land or protection from fire, like I mentioned, the Oregon Department of Forestry, we protect private forest land in the state of Oregon. I think there's about 16 million acres that we protect. We're made up into districts. I think there's 12 districts across the state. Oregon is split by 2 different districts. Northeast Oregon district is in the southeastern part of Morrow County, and then Central Oregon district is the rest of the southern part that's timber or forest land. And so those districts, basically we develop our budgets, and those budgets get boiled down into a bottom dollar amount at the district level. We then take that budget and for the private landowners, it's roughly 50% split between private land and general fund. So if we divide that budget by half, that leaves the other half, and then we divide by the number of acres that we protect across our district. And that rolls into a per acre assessment to the private landowners, which then gets included on the county tax statements that come out yearly. And so that's kind of how the funding piece works into this. I think I covered everything in there for the most part. So you've probably seen in the news lately, there's a lot of efforts around the state to change kind of our funding structure. You probably some So forest land classification, that piece that's the private landowner piece of our budget, there's a different rate whether it's classified as grazing or if it's classified as timber. And so obviously fighting fire in timber ground is more costly, usually a longer duration fire than say, 300-acre ground, the bombing range and wherever else in the county that, it can start in the morning and you're home by lunch. But in the timber, it's a multi-day event. That's usually a lot of aviation and whatnot, driving those costs up. And so there's a different rate. It's about a 3-to-1 rate difference between grazing and timber. So you can see we use in the forest land classification process, we use aerial imagery. And I don't know if it's going to let you real time here, but as he scrolls over left or right, you'll see that brown is what we would call, I think that is agriculture. And then and the lighter color would be grazing, but we basically use the aerial imagery, and Wendy here will be spending a lot of time on a computer screen, kind of drawing lines around where that timber line is, where it transitions from timber to grazing. And I'm sorry that's kind of slow, so.
Yeah, it's our internet, sorry.
But that's how the process works. And so the committee, basically what we would meet and decide on some kind of key. They're in places that we overlap, then by statute, can only charge for the value of 5 acres plus the structure. And then the Department of Forestry charges on a per acre basis across that. And we end up with what we call that 5 acres, a dual assess that both entities are charging for the protection. And so we go those, maybe there's a good power line through power companies. They got to keep those power line right of ways clear of vegetation. So is that really timber ground, or perpetually it's probably going to be kept more free of forest resources or timber, and so it'd probably be more into the grazing side of it. And so that's what this committee would be looking at for, deciding on those issues to begin with, and then take kind of that direction, and we start producing these maps, and then bring it back to the committee to put eyes on it and make sure that it's representative of the issues and how they were decided in the committee. There's a couple things I wanted to point out that was in these talking points. So all of our meetings, it's a county board or committee essentially. And so these are public meetings. They are advertised in advance, just like any other public meeting. Any landowners or other interest parties can review the classifications and provide comments. The committee is required to hold at least one public hearing on the preliminary. And during this time, the public is invited to present formal, oral, or written testimony on the classification. We're required to review all official public testimony and make changes to classification committee determines are warranted. And then the final classification is filed with the county clerk. A landowner may appeal the final forest land classification to the circuit court for a non-jury trial. And I want to point out here, in case you've heard of this, but like I said, it's a county classification committee. So they're appealing to the county essentially through the circuit court. There's a statute on the books that allow the Department of Forestry to intervene in that appeals process. And so that is not a legal issue for the county. The Department of Forestry would step in and be the representation through the Department of Justice of that committee. And that, I believe, happened down in Jackson County, maybe somewhere down in the southwest part of Oregon. And so there is some safeguards built into statutes there. Like I said, as previously stated, lands classified as forest lands are subject to Forest Patrol assessment. The monies are used to fund the cost of wildland fire protection services. Some cases, these lands may also be assessed by a city or rural fire protection district in order to pay for the protection of structures on the same land. That's where I talked about the dual assess, that overlap coverage. And I also just point out structures. We protect structures from the advancement of fire, but once the structure is involved in fire, we don't have the correct equipment or training to fight structure fires. That's the structural departments. And then lastly, an increase or decrease in the number of classified acres does not result in a similar change to ODS protection budget. We do have a budget committee made up of landowners within our district that advise us on our budget. It's all about what is the adequate level of protection, how many personnel, fire trucks, equipment, dozers, whatever that we need to have. The last thing and piece of that is, the cost essentially and how that gets divided out on a per acre rate basis. So it's, if we increase the number of acres we protect, you wouldn't expect our budget to increase. You would actually expect the opposite because that cost would be distributed across more acres. And I guess lastly, maybe if you want to just scroll down a little bit here, make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, there's some specific timelines that we would have to meet. I think we got to get it completed sometime around March or April. University already appointed. They have since retired. My predecessor, I've only been in John Day since July, but my predecessor, I think, met with the prior Board of Commissioners and kicked this process off about 18-20 months ago. And get anybody from the county appointed officially. You all know the history of the board, so we'll go in that. Whereas the OSU Extension had appointed their member, we're in the process of finding somebody else because that person retired. State Fire Marshal has appointed Steve Ray, the Hefner Fire Chief, to the committee. And then the Department of Forestry appointed my predecessor. I wanted to keep her on that, but I think it's gonna end up at me, so. So that's kind of forest land classification in a nutshell, I guess. I'd offer up time for any questions.
So there, in legislation, there's a lot of bills out there for wildland fire.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that some of those will help us get us in the right direction and help in funding. One of them that's new, that's out there, and it doesn't directly affect the ODF because it is with structure fires. But loss from disasters like the house fires that we had down in the valley. The federal government's gonna step in and basically when they reimburse those people for that funding, they're not gonna tax them on that. It's gonna be a tax-free reimbursement. So they're gonna be able to rebuild whole. And I just think that there's a lot of attention on that. And I think that we're going in the right direction to help with some of the fire issues we have in the forestry. But that being said, a lot of the issues in the forestry is the lack of people taking care of their properties, properly. Not clearing brush, not getting rid of the fire hazard. Does any money in this that's paid by the individual go to any kind of mitigation for that?
So this money that's we collect through Forest Patrol assessment goes to paying our base level fire protection budgets. That's
Just strictly fire
pre-suppression, suppression, readiness sort of prevention sort of budget.
So to get funding out there for mitigation stuff would be a separate
Correct.
monster.
And there's a lot of it out there right now. And I guess I'd point out, I hit on this process last took place in Morrow County in 1960. So we have a classification layer that we're using. We just know that over, what's that been, 65 years or 60 years, that things change on the landscape. And what lot split, the classification stayed with one lot and the other lots weren't paying anymore. So I don't know if those issues are here or not in Morrow County. I know in Grant County, when I look at the layer, I can obviously see a 40-acre center pivot that's green alfalfa in August, and they're paying timber assessment rates. That's not equitable. And this whole process is about equitability, and everybody is paying their fair share for whatever level of service they're getting. And so, like I said, things could have changed across the landscape in that 60 years, developments, whatever else. We're just trying to clean up that layer to so a person isn't paying more than they should be. Or maybe somebody hasn't been paying that should be paying into the system.
And I'm assuming that we have maps today that are far exceed anything we had in the 60s.
Well, a lot of our
Shouldn't be
maps
as
have
much
been
work.
updated, but we still have the old paper maps that overlay on tax lot maps, and we still use dot grids at times. And this system will get it all into a GIS base. And
Looking at these three individuals, and I know something about some of them, so a lot of them have not just grazing land, they have timberland, they have, a lot of these have all three
correct.
of the C1, C2, and C3 classifications.
And just for transparency, I know some of these individuals. I used to work in fossil 15 years ago, so I know some of the names. I just don't met them all individually. I know my predecessor working with the community, other organizations like NWCS, OSU Extension, and the Soil and Water Conservation hold up to the top as good individuals for this committee. And I know my predecessor had reached out to each of these, and they showed interest in this committee. And so when this process got kicked off and it was advertised, I did reach out to them and encourage them to, if they were still interested, to apply.
Is the application closed now, Valerie, do you remember?
I did close it, so
Okay.
we'd have everything.
Right, okay.
I think they had to respond by
Monday.
Monday, close the business or something, or.
So we're clear to make the appointments if we want, correct?
So I'd move to appoint Jerry Arnson, Joe McGill, and Brian Thompson as the committee members.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded, further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great.
Certainly appreciate
Well,
it.
thank
All
you.
right, thank
And I
you for the
believe-
presentation.
I sent you maybe some draft appointment letters, and so if you want to just scan those to me, then I can get them distributed to the state forester, or whoever, if that works for you.
I can do.
And I did bring a couple cards here with me in case any of you are interested. Contact me about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You need one? You're welcome to.
Thank you for the presentation.
Yeah, I think you got some good people. I know you do. Look at.
Looking forward to
Yeah,
getting this
okay.
process started.
Yeah.
Appreciate it again.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We're down to 5D, rate increase waste connection center, North franchisee. Sandy,
Hi,
are you?
is he got me
Hello.
unmuted? I can't see, well, here. I got so much
Yes, we
stuff
hear you,
on my.
Sandy.
Hi. Hey, hello, Chair and Commissioners and everybody else. I'm Sandy Pointer with Morrow County Public Works Administrative Manager. I also have on the line Kevin Miracle, which is District Manager for Waste Connections, and with him is Brian Brooks, District Controller for Waste Connections. Kevin came to us, the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, and my administrator, Eric Himes, Director of Public Works, and he's the administrator of the solid waste. He came to us January 16th of this year, and he had given us notice that he was asking for a rate adjustment for his fee schedule. And he explained, and I know he could probably explain a little bit better than me, but they took over sanitary disposal in Hermiston in 2021 timeframe. I'm not so certain if that's it. It might be a different date, but it was that year that they took over, and they told us then, and our solid waste advisory heard him. They told us then that there may be issues trying to get used to the adjustments and everything, and that should be all in the letter. Also in your packet, and I don't know if anybody else sees that, is the proposed rates, and it's a 37% increase. But if you look across the board and other waste collectors, to me, they look pretty fair and agreeable. So I would let Kevin and maybe Brian visit if they want to, or if you guys have any other questions. And I do apologize if I'm spotty, because you guys, I'm listening to your BOC and it is spotty. The internet's coming in and out, so.
Good.
Sorry if I
I
sound.
can start with Sandra. Do you got any questions of Sandra? No. Any questions at all of anyone? Or-
So I guess the question I'd have is, since Waste Connections is the provider in Umatilla County, in the north end, Umatilla, Hermiston area, are these the same rates that they're paying, or where, how do they compare? I see the other providers, but I know that they aren't being served by Waste.
Correct. The sanitary disposal Pendleton Sanitary has their price comparison along with Pilot Rock. They do Milton Free Water. They have their own price setup. So what's happening is Waste Connections takes on Echo, Stanfield, Umatilla, Boardman, Irrigan, Hermiston, And if I'm missing any, please pipe up, Kevin, if you wouldn't mind. But he's covering that big realm of customers. And his franchisee, if nobody's familiar, is the north end of the county, and it is kind of divided by Highway 207 when it comes through the county, and sanitary disposal waste connections is north of that, and then south of that is Miller and Sons. And this will affect the residents who are provided service from them in that area.
What are the rates?
So I guess the question for Kevin is, are these the same rates that you're charging to Umatilla and Hermiston?
They're similar. When SDI had the company and we took it over, Mike would come in just for kind of minimal increases. And basically what happened is that the company itself is kind of behind with the, you know, say a 35-gallon roll cart or a 90-gallon roll cart. So this puts us more in line with, you know, with the surrounding garbage companies in the area and what they're paying. All West Richland, Pilot Rock, Pendleton, all of their trash goes to Findlay just like ours does. And so we're pretty comparable. I don't even think we may be in the middle with one of the pricing, but most of them we're just at the high bottom or the lower end of pricing. And then also just kind of I know that, you know, when you look at it, you know, since we got here, you know, 37.5% is, you know, it is a substantial increase, especially for people on fixed incomes. But we also know that this will be the last big one that we kind of, you know, ask for, and then we can base it off CPI moving forward. So it doesn't have a huge impact on, you know, our customers.
Well, maybe I missed it, Kevin, but I guess so I'll ask again is that I hear you talk about other waste providers. What are your rates in Umatilla County for those entities that you serve in Umatilla County?
How much, what are you asking? How much are we charging?
So if I lived in Hermiston and I had a weekly 90-gallon cart, what's that cost me?
I don't have that pricing on me, but they're, you know, everybody is within $4 to $5, I think.
So what was, I'm sorry, Kevin.
I don't have Hermiston's pricing in front of me.
Okay. I was just, you know, wondering because you're providing the same service there as you are here, and if we were comparable.
And
yeah, well, it is comparable, but you know, there's also, you know, added stuff, you know, it's similar, but it's not the same. But the curbside garbage and carts is similar across the board.
So from my perspective, if you were comparing Hermiston to North Morrow County, that it would be cheaper to deliver from North Morrow.
Say again, it broke up.
Where's our speaker out?
I think it's more the internet.
Okay. So North Morrow County delivery to the landfill is a much closer transportation than it is from Hermiston. So I would assume or hope that the prices would be less in North Morrow County than they would be for Hermiston.
Yes, that is true. I just don't have the numbers, so I can't give you an exact, you know, what it is, but there is a discounted rate for only having to travel, you know, in the Morrow County just to go to Findlay versus taking it to Umatilla County to our transfer station and then reloading it, because we don't want to do that.
Did Brian want to talk? I saw his hand raised.
Yeah, I was just gonna let Kevin finish and then I was gonna see if he's with you, so.
Sorry about that.
I'll mute him and
Running the show.
Let's see. Brian, we got you unmuted now.
Hey, folks, how are you today?
Good.
Good. Okay, so I've got kind of a bad internet signal here too. I just wanted to add with Kevin on those comparative rates. You know, one of the things we have to look at too is just the number of customers that are in those areas. So unfortunately, you know, in many cases, when we have a smaller location like an Echo, we just don't have the customer base to kind of spread the cost of those trucks and carts and people across. So you will see differences in rates across municipalities, and oftentimes it's as you pointed out, distance from the ultimate disposal location. It also varies on types of services offered, but again, it really varies based on how many customers are there to kind of support that rate schedule.
Well, I can understand the cost of operations and everything going up. It's not gonna lie, it's sticker shock, 10% last year, 37% this year. So the compounding, it's sticker shock. I do understand costs and everything going up, but
That seems like a huge increase. And then, so I have a question, does this transfer go up to the cities and then the cities have to change from there? Or is this?
Yeah, we've got individual contracts and franchises with those individual cities. And yes, we'll be presenting similar rate increase requests to those municipalities as well. I mean, unfortunately, just the overall rate structure there at Sanitary has really just kind of fallen behind the times with the small increases that the previous ownership would come in for every few years. So it is unfortunate, and you know, we're with you. We're like, wow, this is big, but this is kind of where we need to be to keep going. And it is comparable, as Sandy mentioned as well, and I think we provided in the material there that it's comparable to what other service providers are charging in other areas. And right now we're just way under.
Think if Brian and Kevin wanna, do you have confidence that this is a good rate to keep you,
It shows
get you where you need to be with your,
24-2
everything that you've been doing?
Civic.
Yeah, that's the kind of the plan moving forward, is not to request a substantial increase and just base it off CPI moving forward. I mean, you know, with Brian and I talking, this isn't, you know, we're still trying to dig ourselves, you know, out of the red with some of this stuff. So even with our margins, it's still not this phenomenal thing that we're doing, but we know that this is a long-term investment, and you know, we do want to be a good partner, you know, to the county. So, but yeah, moving forward, we would go based off CPI if that was agreeable with the county, which, you know, depending on what year you look at, 2 to 4 or 5%, depending on where it lands.
Okay. Any further questions? Thoughts?
do you have any more questions, Junior?
No, I mean, it's a big hit for a lot of people.
Don't disagree, but yeah. So I'll make the motion to accept the rate increase from Waste Connections Inc. and sign order number OR-2024-2. To do so for the effective date, March 1st, 2024.
Give a second. Moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, next we got by the letter to Oregon House Committee on Agricultural Land Use, Natural Resources and Water. Tamara.
Yes, thank you, Chair. For the record, Tamara Mabott, Planning Director. What is before you is a letter that I crafted with Bob Walder from Umatilla County. It's a letter that is prepared for both board chairs to sign. I understand it's on the Umatilla County docket today. it is a letter encouraging this Oregon House Committee to fund the water well abandonment repair and replacement fund. It's not a panacea, wouldn't solve all the problems, but it is one opportunity for well owners to apply for funding if they needed to improve or deepen their well. Up until a year, I think last session, this fund was for water quantity only. But given water quality issues, not just in Morrow County, but statewide, that committee and the manager of the fund is Oregon Water Resources Department, made the funding available to water quality. Ideally, they could even earmark area funding for the Lower Umatilla Basin groundwater management area. But this letter is just, again, to encourage that funding continue, again, as one possible solution for some of our numerous well owners.
Is any
No, I'm,
anything else on for approval and have David sign this?
we attached the-
That was quick.
I'll second.
I'll take it.
They're real quick when I sign stuff. Oh, yeah, whatever. No,
I think it's
I know. I read it over. It's fine. It's a good deal. No, it's moving forward. Okay, moved and second, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Stanley. Keep jumping back and forth here. Yeah. Notice of intent to award a contract. Thank you. Matt, you're on there, right?
I actually asked Tamara to come back up for this one.
Oh, okay.
5 applicants.
Oh, it is me, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
it is me.
the staff letter pulled up me, but this is the request on the $1.7 million grant that we have for studies on the nitrate water issue. As pointed out during public comment, this is just a letter for request on it and does not have the attached RFP and scoring mechanisms. But we did have a committee that scored that out. It was actually, I'll let Tamara address it a little bit, but we had representations from both counties, plus quite a few technical experts in the group room, and they reviewed several proposals. This will be a joint award with Umatilla County, and we're planning to do that in a joint session in March. And so what the intent of the notice of intent to award is to allow the protest period to start. And so this allows us to contact the bidders that were not awarded post the results of the RFP and such, and then allow any protests to go through before the final award during joint session during March. I believe it's March 20th is what or March 13th.
It was 13th or
13th. So it's the off week from when we meet. Tamara, that's my prologue to it, or is anything to add to it?
Really, I think you covered everything. If you want to know, again, the purpose of the notice of intent to award, first time I've ever been through a procurement process that's that large. So I relied on Council Goebel. He gave us some good advice, and out of precaution, he said to present that to the board, precaution and transparency. And because our procurement policy does not explicitly authorize that, it's rather silent on that piece. You can do the legal piece. Okay, you can do the legal review. Also have Dick Ducote, who's helped us with the procurement process. And then Kevin is on the phone. Again, this is the large EPA grant. The scoring committee, I felt really positive about. Myself, Joe Fumara, the Umatilla County Public Health Director, Doug Evans, who's a retired engineer from Utah, who worked on a very similar project and has some vast background, just offered to volunteer. And Carrie Maycomber, who's a water systems manager and a certified water treatment and distribution operator. So the proposal was unanimous. And again, I have the scoring. I didn't post that information on the website. I could have, and I didn't also post the proposals. I thought I grabbed them here. So it was a pretty clear winner by consensus on the from the whole committee. And as Matt said, this would just be the letter to notify the 3 parties who applied. If anyone wants to protest, they'd have 7 days to protest.
Good. If that protest happens, and then I'm assuming that we would then post everything. To,
It's available to anybody who wants to look at it. The RFPs on the website, any of those proposals. The only people who have position to protest, Greg can help me if I'm wrong, are the 3 parties who submitted. I'm assuming the party that the committee is recommending would not protest, but the other 2 may, and they can look at each other's proposal. Nobody's contacted me. I did contact all 3 parties and said we would have this in front of the board today.
Could you go back and start kind of from the beginning on this? Is when you originally wrote up the grant, it was pretty extensive, if I remember, the grant request on what was to be done. Is that correct?
Well, the original proposal was a few paragraphs, but then the application to EPA was very extensive.
Right, I remember reading that. And then what was the next step after that? Didn't you put out another more extensive document on exactly what the companies would be bidding on?
You bet, and you actually authorized that a
Yeah.
couple months ago, and we posted it for 60 days.
Oh,
I
it's
think.
just a comment came up that this hadn't been done in the open, and I thought it was very in the open, everything about it. I remember reading several things that were very detailed and extensive on what was going to be done and what we expected of the contractors and all that.
And the criteria, scoring
Yeah,
criteria,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
that's right, and the
Okay.
whole formal process.
Okay. Okay. So. Now questions that can tell?
no, I think.
So there's really no action for us. This is just letting us.
You approved, because of the size of it, it's $1.7 million. There are some gray areas on who has the authority to do that. We go by procurement, it's 150,000 mark, that's way over my head. And so we would want the county to approve that. Like I said, Umatilla, since they're a partner in it, they're doing it as well. Apologize, probably should have been better to have the proposal from GSI attached to it. While we're not going into the contract with them, that will be made available and for final review before the contract is approved in a joint session with Umatilla County.
Okay, because I was just looking here and I didn't see, a suggested motion. or anything, so.
Okay, so.
So the motion would be to authorize staff, Administrator Jensen, to sign the authorization, the notice of intent to award.
Okay.
And then we'll notify the parties.
Well, do you want to make that motion?
So moved.
You took the easy route.
There you go.
Did you get it, Valerie?
Yeah.
Okay.
If
I'll
not-
second.
You literally put so moved.
If not, you got somebody here that might fill you in. No, I was just saying, if she
Oh,
didn't get
okay.
the wording right, you'll tell her.
It's all in the recording. We're good.
Okay, she's good. Valerie's pretty darn fast.
Yeah, she is. Fast. Okay, did I get a second?
Yes, you did.
Okay, move to second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Next, we're up to G, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Alright.
This,
Let me read it so the public knows.
Please.
5G, notice of intent to award contract, strategic planning services. Nancy Johnson. So go ahead.
It was pointed out to me that the title on this business item, noticed in 10 board, might be a little bit awkward. The size of the contract not really requires a notice of intent award, which is usually a legal procedure to allow people to protest. This is a contract for just a little over $50,000 for a strategic consulting service to come in and engage county elected officials, staff, and stakeholders and residents on determining strategic vision, mission, and initiatives for the county to focus on over the next 3 to 5 years. The group that we're working with is, we actually put this out, my predecessor put out an RFP. We received no responses to it. And so we pushed out kind of a special invite to several consultant groups that we knew. I added a couple that I'd known, and we only received one proposal back. And we had another one call and say, we can't do it within your timing, we're already booked out. However, this proposal from Local Government Consulting, they're a group, they have principals in Wyoming and Utah. I've interacted with them directly. They do a great job coming and engaging with the public, having stakeholder meetings, and allowing people to kind of, throw the thoughts against the whiteboard and see what sticks. And that's the intent of this, is to, and quite frankly, as you're well aware, we've had a lot of upheaval in the county over the last 24 months. And a lot of that is trying to smooth the water. But now it's really at that point where we need to look towards the future and see what really is the priority. There's a couple subjects that are kind of no-brainers. The nitrate issue will be a big one. But getting a feedback from residents and stakeholders on other issues such as housing, community identity, economic development, and those other type of things, what needs to be important to the county, and then bringing those strategic initiatives, proposed strategic initiatives to this body for final approval and review. This is an important strategy tool for us to use for budgeting over the next few years and incorporate capital improvement plans too. And it's going to be about a 5 to 6 month process where we have a couple engagements with stakeholders and then some open town halls to allow people to engage, online surveys and other items that we can come and pull through, and then having a strategic retreat with elected officials, staff, and identified stakeholders to help summarize and pull everything together. So we would ask, while this contract is within my level for authority, the expansive nature and the impact across residents to the county, I wanted to bring it up to the commission just so you're aware of it. See if you had any questions, and if not, I will proceed to finalize contract and get that signed within the procurement boundaries that I can authorize.
I didn't get a chance to read this, but I think I talked to you about it previously about, yeah.
One of the changes we did have is they had only one town hall meeting. I asked for them to do 2, one north, one south, just to make sure we have good exposure to, an opportunity for residents on both sides. That 40-mile gap's a little bit of a jump sometimes. And so that's a change. They also do a online strategic initiative tracking system that we can subscribe to on a very good rate. It's a very low level, but it's a tool for me to implement with department heads to say, hey, here's the strategic initiatives, what's your projects underneath that, and track progress. That would be available for elected officials like yourselves to be able to log in and see where we're at on those kind of things. And that would be backed up, of course, by a written plan that they would develop and have published. So the general public can see what our priorities are.
Okay. And this is a 1-year contract?
This is, it's a 5 to 6 month contract for that. And then it's a year mark for helping do trainings like on every other month, making sure we're following up on making sure the strategic initiatives are followed to kind of develop some habits and trends so we can continue with this. And so it's not just a report on the bookshelf.
I see there's a 2-day strategic planning retreat scheduled in this, so I'm just looking out, how far is that?
About 5, 6 months after we get them started. So
And then from there going forward, so I'm trying to look at timing here, so probably within a year.
Yes.
Okay.
We're actually looking to have this done by August of 2024. Have it all wrapped up, so then we can use that to shift into the fiscal year 26 budget cycle.
Okay, like I said, I didn't get a chance to read this quite as close as I wanted to, but so I'm gonna just ask you some questions, but they're probably right here in front of me, but like I said, I didn't get a deep dive like I wanted. Is this a strategic plan for county government or for the county as a whole?
Well, how do you differentiate those two? This,
It's very divided,
So-
because if it's for the county government, then the staff and the electeds and stuff would get together and say, okay, this is how we want the county government run. But Morrow County is so much more than, I mean, and granted, the strategic plan for the whole county would cover way more than just county government. And then we would use that should encompass more of the public's, because I wouldn't want to sit here and tell people this is where Morrow County is going to go because I think so. I want to know what they think. So, because then moving forward, that's where the county aids, development, education, we do what we can there. If the strategic plan is about Morrow County as a whole, then we do more, okay, we can help them here. This is what the people want. When it's just about county government, it's, you see what I mean? It's just about the government.
So this, I'll say it's a little bit of a hybrid. One of the things they do is they do reach out to stakeholders, businesses, governments, other entities, see what the issues that are hitting the county in general. And then we'll be bringing that into what the Morrow County governance should be focusing on from those. So it's a wide net to pull it and sift it down to what the government's going to focus on. So this isn't setting strategies for the Port and Boardman or Hefner. This is to say, here are the issues we're facing. And then as we focus it down to the stakeholders, the guiding committee that's identified in here, they'll take those 8, 10 big subjects and say, okay, this is what we can focus on for the next 3 to 5 years and bring that to the commission for approval.
And I guess my second thing is, do you guys remember that other deal they did the last time? Where they had a deal on housing did you participate in that?
I don't think
So you're lucky. I mean, they bailed on that thing after the first day. I mean, I think I talked to you about that. It was just, they brought in this company and it was like, rah, rah, rah. Okay, we want you to get in a group and tell something about the person in your group that maybe nobody else knows about. I'm going like, geez, we're not in the 8th grade here, and they concentrated more on team. I think they were trying to team build and people were telling them, hey, we know everybody. We all know each other, we don't need to get to know, or team build, per se, if that, I don't know. It just went south and in fact, people were bailing and it was an all-day thing and they just canceled the following day. So, I mean, I like nuts and bolts, get down to it, like I said, this county is small. We know a lot of people, and, so
Yeah.
that's my thought.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a chance to read it all, so I'm counting on you to know what my thoughts are.
And that's one of the things, Kevin Ince and I were part of the interview with this. Matt Dixon is the principal that would be in charge of those initial meetings. We really kind of tried to nail them down saying, we're not looking for a fluff piece. We're not looking to just pull people around, sing kumbaya. We're looking to identify, prioritize issues. And so we don't need to do trust falls and those kind of things. We need to focus on what the issues are and where the priorities are, because you could say, low income housing is a priority. Well, how does that relate to other items? And, code enforcement, again, nitrates in the water, so forth and so forth. So that's one thing we made sure it's not going to be around in the campfire singing Kumbaya,
And granted,
even with the 2-day retreat.
the consulting,
Yeah.
consulting isn't going to solve all your problems or nothing, but they, I know what you're saying, they can organize thoughts, you know, and get a.
Prioritization.
Yeah, and prioritize and get structure to what your thoughts are. I get that, you know. But
And strategic planning, from my point of view, is a living, breathing animal, right? It's changing, forever changing. I mean, you get some new industry and it can change everything. You know,
The nice thing about this is we identify a big one, and while we might focus on a couple of them for the first 3 to 5 years, we can keep those others in a bucket. And as we, you know, cross milestones with others, we can start pulling those back or look at it to pull in another one or do it ourselves to re-engage with those ideas and make sure we're still matching the needs of the county.
Okay, I don't have the cover sheet up in front of me. You're already approved to sign this, aren't you?
Yes.
Was it? Yeah. Okay.
It's, I said a motion to approve intent to award. I've been told that's a little bit different legal aspect. And so more or less, I intend to sign it based on procurement levels that are there. We just wanted to make sure if you'd like to have a motion to approve me to proceed, that'd be great.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to instruct.
So I'll make the motion to have Matt sign this agreement.
Okay.
Second.
That's been moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, thank you, Matt. Look forward to this. Okay, next up would be 5H, grant approval, Emergency Operations Center grant program. Steve?
Let's go with it.
Steve, he finished. Yeah, he transformed.
Under Sheriff Brian Sattermore, County Sheriff's Office, setting in for Steve Freeland. To be honest with you, commissioners, I'm not really prepared. So I was on the phone, once I saw his name on the agenda, I think there was a misunderstanding. But moving forward with that, it's my understanding that this is the reason it's on the agenda, is so you guys can review it. This grant, you guys approved in a prior meeting, but the state had kicked it back due to some errors. Those errors have been since fixed and they have sent back the approved version. So I don't believe at this time, from my understanding, that there's any action necessarily that needs to be taken by the board. But we wanted you to have an understanding of what was going on and have a corrected and current view. Matt, am I missing anything on that from your point of view?
Yeah, they are looking for a signature on that that item. If you just want to, if you were to stand with the previous one, I didn't have a date on that one, or if you just like to motion to approve this. This is for a grant that would authorize expenditures up to $236,000 for a backup power generator for the Bartholomew building to allow an emergency where we can still have power and continue with government operations.
Expenditure on our part or?
So
There's a match.
we get a grant of $177,000 with a $59,000 match by the county. We would incorporate that into our fiscal year 25 budget. This just allows us to secure the money of the $177,000 and make sure it doesn't go away before we get into the budget.
And this is shared with Grant County, is that correct? Or no?
No.
It's not shared, okay. I was on the wrong.
So I'll make the motion to approve grant agreement, authorize Chair Sykes to sign on behalf of the county.
I'll second that.
So quick, they do those.
We love to authorize you to sign.
You know, it's 2-1. I was like, go along with it. Okay, move to second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Okay,
Thanks.
yeah, thank you. You did a great job filling in. So, yeah, right. Well, you walked away with a letter, so you got victory. Letter of support. It's Tamara, right?
This one is actually kind of a combination. We received 3 requests for letters of support. And one was sent through Tamara, the other 2 were sent to myself and Chair Sykes.
Yeah, from, Lisa.
Yes. So the first one, we have 3, if it's okay if I just summarize all 3.
Yeah.
The first one is a request for Port of Morrow for congressionally directed spending. They have 3 different projects they're looking at. One is for wastewater treatment, one is for rail improvements. And the other one is for interchange improvement project. And so they don't have a specific amount. None of these letters of support bind the county to do that. It just shows that we support the nature of the requests and as provides them points when they review these on the congressional side.
So will you want a motion for each one or do it all together?
A motion for each one is okay.
So
So
before we move on to the next one, move for approval of the signing the letter for conversion directed spending for the projects that Matt laid in.
I'll second that.
Moved in second, and further discussion.
Just real quick, so the Southport Rail Safety Enhancement they're looking for, and that's not mainline. I just want to make that clear. It's not a mainline UP project.
no, this is.
This is the loop within the port.
Yes.
I just want to make sure. We don't want to be funding.
No.
UP stuff.
Been moved in second, further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Aye, all opposed, motion carried. Okay, now move on to the next one, would be the. Also from the board, you want to take that, Matt? Just,
Yes, this is Portomaro and City of Ione. This is a project that Portomaro is assisting the City of Ione for the development of a more or less an incubator building for small businesses and try to kind of create a situation to allow businesses to develop in the Ione area. And it's looking for about 10,000 square feet. Again, it's not specified the amount on the project, but asking for support to help supplement those items.
okay. Entertain a motion to approve letter of support for the Portomaro City of Ione CDS request.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved in second, and further discussion, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carried. Okay, our final one is the Oregon Military Department Congressional Direct Spending. Who's gonna take that one?
I'll do that as well. This is one that was sent out by Oregon Military Department. They're looking for congressional directed spending to help develop a multi-purpose machine gun range at the Naval Weapons System Training Facility near Boardman. This one, they do have 2 letters. They have separate letters to 2 senators that represent Oregon. The only thing is, this sounds really cool, so I need to put the caveat, once it gets built in 2029 or whatnot, we should come out for ribbon cutting shoots on the machine guns.
Thousand rounds each.
Well designed and included.
So, the nice thing is right now, there is no testing area like that within hundreds of miles.
I think Yakima is the closest.
Yeah, and so it means that our Oregon military and National Guard, Air Reserve, all that, they have to go hundreds of miles on their weekend tours rather than staying close and benefiting from this property that's available. So
And we have it available. And this is, just to be clear, this is not CDA land. This is the bombing range property.
yes,
Is that allowed use in that zone, machine gun firing?
Well, they do
It's
it.
the federal government.
I know, I
They
know.
do it from air.
Yeah.
Why not?
I know. They could bomb out there, they should.
Well, they can strafe too. They already have
Okay.
50
All
caliber.
right.
rifles, so.
so
Haven't
we,
had those for a while. The Warthog's got.
oh, that's fun. So there are 2 letters of support to the 2 senators, but we would have those printed and do those for you.
Are those gonna you can take those together, or you want those separate?
I'll make a motion to approve the letters of support for the military division congressionally direct spending requests.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Just comment to reiterate kind of what's been said is, support this. I think it's great that our Oregon National Guard and any of the military people, if they can stay in Oregon, go train instead of, I think that's great. But the Oregon National Guard out here at the depot too, is that they don't have to go to Yakima. They don't have to go to Boise. They can stay in Oregon to train. So I think it's,
Do it in an afternoon.
yeah, so I think this is great. And this is kind of maybe a little bit off topic, but I can remember it's probably 15 to 20 years ago, there was talk about creating this machine gun range out there and the tank training range out there on the bombing range, and it's great to see something may come to fruition finally after 20+ years. So,
Might be off topic, but I hope they can use those weapons to disintegrate the sand dune that is traveling towards the highway. It's gonna block the highway in 6 years, so
Yeah, like target practice.
Yeah. put some lead in and make it slow down anyway.
Okay, been moved, has been seconded.
Yes.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve both letters. The Oregon Military Department conditional direct spending support. Further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Okay, thank you. Okay, next we'll get administrator update.
Yeah, so wanted to just provide a short update on the circuit court. Things are starting to move on that. We had our initial kickoff meeting on February 6th, right before the last BOC meeting. Over the last 2 weeks, we've had our initial space needs analysis, which confirmed the reports from 2 or 3 years ago when they did the initial one, made any adjustments on that. Stakeholders included the circuit court, justice court, district attorney, juvenile service facilities, and others. We do have listening sessions scheduled for next week, next Tuesday at 6 p.m. This has been posted in the Hefner Gazette, and I'll be taking personal invitations to all the neighbors around that neighborhood and contacting the school so they can participate as well. I do need to get one scheduled for the Fair Rodeo boards, looking to shoot for either earlier on February 27th or on the 26th. So these are listening sessions, allow them to meet with the design team. If commissioners would like to attend, that's great. But we'll have them come and just list issues, whether that's, sightline impacts, security, other things, so we can get the neighbors confirmed and we can post those and take care of those. I jumped down to the website information at the last bullet. One of the things that the design team would like us to do is create a website that we can post regular updates on. This would be in our county website. And so one of the things is we'd be posting all the items that we took back from the listening sessions and address those as possible. It is a listening session. We'll address as many as we can, and as part of our design process, and in looking to get the conditional use permit from the city. In the packet, there's a copy of the notice for the construction manager general contractor process. In the state of Oregon, we have to post that we are doing an exemption to the regular design bid build process. And so that's going out so we can contract with the CMGC. We'll have that motion available on the March 6th meeting as this notice gets set up. Engaging with the CMGC allows us to have that builder lock in a price and then help the architect make sure we stay on target with the pricing, so we don't do the bid and then have to value engineer things and slow down the process. And so we're hoping to take care of that. Our next full design team meeting will be March 7th, where we'll be summarizing all the space needs and the listening sessions, and starting to get a full schedule out to be able to bring to the Board of Commissioners. As I mentioned with the conditional use permit, the requirements for the conditional use permit, many of you have been on a planning commission, so we have to have a site plan to show how the building's gonna lay out, landscaping, and how a buffering is gonna be taken care of. We anticipate that we'll have, a 60 or, an 80% design where we can have that site plan by sometime in end of April, May. We'd like to bring that to you all before we take it to the city. Some people see that conditional use permit as an opportunity to stop the project for whatever reasons. Technically, the conditional use permit, the building's permitted. We just have to make sure we address certain needs and that we're taking those into consideration. And so we anticipate doing that. We've already had communications with the city The design team has been reaching out to them to get information on the conditional use permit, so we don't see that being a major hurdle unless we can't address some of the requirements. We don't anticipate that, but we will be making sure we check all the boxes and work with the neighbors to make sure their needs are addressed. And so that's where we're going with it right now. Appreciate the support of the commission and hope to be able to get some things back to you in the end of April, May timeframe, so you can start taking a look at the things. We will plan to have some town halls during the summer and information on the courthouse available at the fair in August, so the public can see what's going on.
So with the conditional use permit, I'm assuming that, there are guidelines to go by.
Yes.
And to keep within budget, we should probably plan to stick to those guidelines and not get carried away with.
So that's why we have a CMGC and a project manager, owner's rep. I hate to say it, sometimes architects kind of get, they can dreamy. And so this pulls them back in line and make sure it's.
I just want to make sure we don't end up doing so much aesthetic that we don't have a good building.
Yes. And so we want an attractive, lasting building there that will serve the needs of the community.
Okay, thank you. Is that it on your reports? No? Or do you have-
That's all I'm tagging out.
No moss. Okay, I'm gonna call a 5-minute recess. So, before we do department reports.
Go ahead.
Okay. Next up is our department reports. Veteran Services Quarterly Report. Stephanie, there she is. Get you unmuted and you can talk to us.
There you go, Stephanie.
Thank you. So I provided a written report, that way you guys can kind of see all the details of everything that Veteran Services did over, it's the Q2 report, October through December. It was a pretty busy quarter, actually. We had a lot of training. The annual conference is in October every year. We were fortunate enough to have it in Pendleton this year, so I didn't have to travel far. That was a great opportunity to go and meet some other professionals in veteran services, including folks from New York who wrote the manual that we get our accreditation based off of. Also met Nikita Daniels, who, if you hadn't heard, was recently appointed as the Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs Director, and did some really great assemblies for the high schools here that they put on. Heppner, I saw a couple of you there. What a great assembly at the Heppner High School. I really, if every high school did that, it would be fantastic. So, really, I don't have much other to share other than what I had in my written report, but if you guys have questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, you got any questions, Stephanie?
No question, comment, just I think that it appears that you're doing a lot more outreach in the community than maybe we'd seen in the past, so I think that's appreciated on behalf of the veterans. Get out there and make sure that they know that you're available to provide whatever services that you can for them.
Yeah, we are trying to do some more large scale things, be a little bit more visible in the community. I know Linda, she did a lot more smaller scale stuff, and we're gonna try to get into some of that. We're hoping to start a weekly coffee hour where vets can get together. You know, Heppner, they have a great program that South Morrow County Seniors Matter has put on, so everybody has a chance to get together every week. Eregan and Boardman don't really have anything like that. They have the senior meal site in Boardman. But, you know, I'm hoping that maybe we can start something where people can get together and kind of socialize with each other and network a little bit. So, yeah, thank you for that input though.
Thank you.
Thank
for-
you, Steph.
Thank you for your report. We appreciate it very much. Okay. And your efforts too. So, okay, next up would be our sheriff's report, monthly report, Brian Snyder.
Hello again, this time I'm. a little more
Steve,
prepared.
we don't want Steve, we want Brian here. Where's Brian?
I'm a little bit more prepared on this.
Brian's
one.
taking the seat. You're-
Oh,
you
Lord.
pick it, Brian.
One day we'll do this without, or I'll do this without messing
Oh,
something
come
up.
on, keep it interesting.
So I've done a lot, so in the last 2 weeks, we got the, Irrigan contracts that got handed to me today, from the city of Irrigan. So the sheriff and the city of Irrigan has signed them. We'll get them on the, agenda, probably at the next meeting, for your guys' review and signature. So that's good.
So they are continuing with you guys.
They are continuing.
A couple years ago, they talked about knots.
Yes, and so they are continuing with our services. The one thing that you'll see that's different than we've done in the last couple of years is this is a 2-year contract. And the financial part is in there to reflect that as well. Other than that, the contract is pretty much exactly the same. It's just 1 deputy for 2 years. So we don't have to do this every year, which will be a big benefit, I think, for the sheriff's office, the county, and budgeting, and for the city. We'll know what's going on. On a sad note, I guess, lack of a better word, we have received 3 letters of resignation. We knew that they were coming, and we received them over the last 3 days. So we're right where we were trying to, see some air and look, being in a really good position. We're kind of right back into that position we were at a few, 6 months ago, 9 months ago. So the good thing is we do have background. We have 3 in backgrounds, so we'll be able to fill those. However, it's our experience level just went down. They were all at that 3 to 4 year level.
Reasons.
So the reason on one was in his letter, was better opportunities. He's going to the valley. His family is over there, and he wants to be able to do certain things in law enforcement that we just don't provide. And so for there's that. The other one that's going to a local agency is in our area is going for family reasons, according, again, from him. He feels it'll fit best and work best for his family, going to another agency. And then the third one is going, again, a little further east, but he's going to move closer to the family. So his is for family reasons as well.
Yeah, so it doesn't look like any of them were structural, not in our department, but as far as,
No.
yeah, okay.
So there's that. With that, we're gonna lose 1 dispatcher as well. So we're gonna be down 2 dispatchers. We're back up to being down about 6 deputies, 7 deputies. But hopefully in the next couple months with these backgrounds, we'll get the spots filled, but we're not really gonna see a whole. The county's not gonna see the benefit from them for about 9 months, just due to the academy and training. We do have 2 that are in training currently, Steve Larson and Nicholas Bird. They're should be solo in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So that'll be kind of nice, getting them. It won't be quite as big of a hit. And other than that, business is going normal, I don't know about normal. My normal is different than everybody else's normal, so we're still moving forward, and I think we're still doing good, and we're not, so far, we're coming up with new ideas. We're not having our resources and the things that we provide aren't taking a negative hit yet. So hopefully we can maintain that and just keep moving forward. I would like to, I guess, I don't know if this is the time, but I would like to get this contract, on the first meeting of March, but I won't give, we've been working with Valerie due to time restraints in the beginning of the month. Will be, the sheriff's office report and stat sheet and everything will come at the end of the month, starting in March. And hopefully that doesn't cause too much of a problem, but we want to get these signed. So we'll present these, we'll get these on the agenda the first the first meeting of the month, but that we won't do.
You say these, you mean the one with Hefner too?
No, I apologize. There's two contracts in here. They're both Irrigan, so the contract, they're just two copies, so misspoke. Hefner, I have a police commission meeting coming up, and we're moving forward on that. I expect to have that. Hopefully, I should say that. The hopes is to be able to present that by the end of,
Did they go 2 years too?
that is the proposal. So.
That's where, I think that works out better for the county, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, and especially for budgeting, we're coming up to our budget, time and trying to figure out what we're doing and what we're not doing, and I think having that 2-year contract gives us a year of cushion to be able to know exactly what we're doing, and that's why we're kind of pushing on getting these, the Hefner and Irrigan contracts, completed before June. That way it'll help us in our budgeting and the county's budgeting process.
Okay. Any questions? No, Brian?
Thank you for the
Thank you.
report.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, next up is our treasurer's monthly report. Jaylene, she usually gives just a written, I don't know. Jaylene, are you on Zoom? Want to say anything or just go with your written as usual, as we usually do? I'll see her when you. Okay. To planning department.
Good morning again.
Yeah.
So I brought well, half of this, maybe 2/3 of this. So thank you. So Daisy Goebel, Landon Jones, and for the record, Tamara Mabott, Planning Director. I brought Landon and Daisy today because we've been working extra hard for the past several months actually on code enforcement. So if you recall, just under a year ago, the planning department presented to the board a concept to do a focused neighborhood approach. So rather than pursuing primarily complaint-driven requests, where you might have a neighbor who has a very similar violation, we took a proactive approach, mailed out letters, etc. So we wanted to give you an update on that. I'll go through, I think, really quickly, just a couple of the highlights in this update. And then I'll let Daisy and Landon talk about the memo that the three of us tag team on about the neighborhood compliance program. Stephen, are you on? Also, Stephen is and he always has the coolest stuff, so he gets to go last. So this month, we had regular planning commission, a good workload of current planning. The February planning commission meeting is in Hefner this month, and it's a planning commission training by the State Department of Land Conservation and Development. I invited the commissioners, I invited cities, city council, city planning commission, and some of our neighboring counties and cities. If they want to listen in. I always learn something every time I hear that presentation. So I think even the well-seasoned planning commission members can learn something. The paragraph I have here about energy projects is small. A couple of projects, one we just received, but 2 weeks ago, there's a lot of upfront work for that. It's a locally permitted facility. Stephen, are you on? He's gonna want a screen share also, if that's possible.
And Sam.
Since the planners are out, Stephen might be up at the front counter. Let's see if he's zooming in. Oh, there he is. I hear him.
I'm on MC planning.
Oh, you're MC planning. Okay. There he is. Okay. Thanks, Stephen. So while he's waiting to come back, our update includes an update on the interpretive panels. Landon's really been managing that contract. We're looking at the last version of those interpretive panels and getting some final feedback from persons who had already contacted us. As you know, spending a lot of time on water issues. Our next water advisory committee meeting is March 11th, and been doing some research with our contractor who assists with water advisory committee for a presentation on March 11th. Chair Drago is the voting member on the Love Guama, and I'm the alternate.
So we have the main committee meetings and now a couple of subcommittee meetings every month. So the good news is I think we're moving the dial on being set to make more measurable progress, even though we think that there is a lot of progress that's being made in the Guama. This will allow us to document that. Let's see. I've just been collecting a list of different funding sources relative to water and really need to consult with Matt on what to do with that. Stephen is working on a water data mapping project for the drinking water, the nitrate issue. That's not ready to share yet. Maybe next month we'll have that position ready to share. If all goes well and we finally get an agreement from Oregon Health Authority to share their data, it will be a really robust, informative map. We're just waiting for that information right now. And several other things. I'm also tracking legislative issues. I think the door for new bills closed, so now it's down to 4 or 5. I think that I'm tracking. So we can talk about, Stephen, are you ready to share your map?
Yeah, let's throw it up.
So as you know, we have a lot of renewable energy in Morrow County. So we've been working hard to set aside Stephen's time to work on some of these bigger maps. And this is a really nice map that he's made for our department, the weed coordinator, Public Works, other agency within and outside the county are looking at this map.
Tamara, can you see the map?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's basically it's a Morrow County Energy Explorer, kind of piggybacks what the state of Oregon already has. They have their own version of this.
Getting that.
However, they don't track local permits or local projects. So I can, on the right-hand side, there's a layers list. You can come down and you can see facilities that are under FSEC jurisdiction. You can turn those off and we get the local permits. Under the FSEC jurisdictional permits, you can click on them, get a little pop-up that will then take you to the FSEC project page, and all of their project information, their exhibits, and the project timeline and contact information is right there at your hands. So it's a little bit streamlined process if you want to look up a project. It's not an exhaustive list. The map's not exhaustive yet. I'm working on it. I felt like it was good enough to put out to the public and just continually add to it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
So Stephen's map will have both those projects that are smaller that the county has permitted and the larger projects. We get a lot of questions every week from folks looking to do new projects or folks about existing projects that are either constructed and built or in that permitting path. It's also internally a really good tool to figure out what's happening with what. Yeah.
What's the inquiries now, wind or solar?
Solar. I haven't had a wind in
That's what I thought.
maybe have you guys had, I don't think we've had any wind.
That's what I thought. It's pretty much shifted to solar now.
What about repowers?
Yeah, last year, 2 years ago, there was a repower of the one where Stephen's pointing right there. So it's the
Shepherd's Flat.
Shepherd's Flat, the Caithness project.
I thought I was reading a story the other day where somebody claimed online that there's going to be a 4,900 acre solar farm somewhere, and it was going to be the biggest one in the world. And I'm thinking,
well,
not, I mean, Sunstone's going to double that, right?
it will. Yep, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, we win that one.
Yeah, I just wondered if that sounded a little wacky that well, maybe it's true. Maybe I've heard that this is going to be the biggest in the Northwest and then the West, I guess. So I just wondered if you had any sense for, if that one's going to be, the biggest one in the world, or I don't know.
I haven't tracked the global stuff, but I think it is for the West.
Claims to fame.
One of the layers that Stephen will eventually add is transmission. So with all new projects, we get a lot of transmission, and
we've been talking to about three different transmission projects. Umatilla Electric Co-op is always really great and proactive, and if, when they're in the early design phase, they come and talk to us and say, this is what we're thinking, either for a substation or a transmission line project, and it's super helpful both ways. It's just the informal, usually most of us are sitting around the table and saying, yeah, that looks great, here's something to think about. We had one maybe earlier this month or January, given some airport overlay issues, they said, yeah, we're gonna rethink this one and maybe find a new location. So before you invest in property, it's good to talk to your local planning department. So that's terrific. Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, Tamara, I'm not sure if I showed the board the CDA maps.
You did before, but I think they're ready to have some lunch, Stephen, if that's okay. We'll let you showcase next month again. How's that?
Sure.
Yeah, that's the whole story board that you did for the depot.
Yeah.
You do that in front of you before? Oh,
No, I
okay.
think I showed it to the planning commission. I don't think I showed it to BOC.
You're right. You're right.
Forward to that.
Yeah, we'll look at that next month. So Daisy and Landon are here. My memo or the monthly update. We're getting this down to a science where I usually start it and then pass it around and everybody adds a paragraph and then I do the final edit. We've been out of our compliance planner. She's been on leave for 3+ months. So we've been tag teaming code enforcement. Really, the field, the boots on the ground work has been falling to Landon. So we wanted to use this time to give you an update. And if you want more detail about anything, we can share it. But do the two of you want to?
Landon can start and kind of go through the background and I can talk through our plan for next steps.
Yep, yeah, first page of the memo, it's all gonna be really detailed with exact dates and exactly what was given out. But it gives a good timeline from the initiation of that neighborhood compliance program, of the outreach that's been done to the entire neighborhoods and the code violations specifically within the neighborhoods, and the meetings and opportunities that have been provided and all the information that has been offered, and the continuing process of the meetings and information that's going on.
So, and with the first effort, the neighborhood compliance, again, we outline in the memo there, had a lot of compliance. One person, the last remnant parcel who was really out of violation in the wagon wheel addition, is looking for another property, which will actually be on your land use hearing agenda today to get the trucks out of a residential neighborhood. That feels like a success story. So in code enforcement, you take baby steps and celebrate success. Not so much success in the other two neighborhoods.
Yeah, so our focus this next week, we set together a neighborhood meeting and invited the West Glen residents to come and talk. They had come to our planning commission meeting and then we set up another follow-up meeting. So we've been trying to be very responsive and capture this opportunity where we have their ears and just see it as an opportunity for us to gain like actual compliance rather than just punitive, we're going to fine you until you move your trucks. Because we've really felt that given the history in that neighborhood, that that type of traditional approach would result in a lot of like short-term compliance and long-term just further make those relationships difficult. And so we really want to capture this opportunity where we have their attention. So we have another meeting scheduled for Tuesday where we're going to sit down and talk through the approach that we've sort of brainstormed. And we want to make sure that it's definitely a solid black and white. You do need to have your properties into compliance. I think a lot of the issues like debris, junk removal, those types of things are a lot simpler, but some of the things that involve like parking commercial trucks on residential lots, we understand that the history of that makes it very difficult for some of these property owners to reach compliance on a traditional timeline. And so we've set up sort of an opportunity for property owners to work with us to sign an abatement agreement where we'll have 90-day check-ins to ensure that they're working towards compliance with for these issues that are a lot more kind of complex and nuanced, like parking trucks on residential lots. So we're offering them the opportunity by April 1st to sign an abatement agreement.
For property owners who choose not to, we will start pursuing traditional code enforcement where we're issuing citations and going through the court system. For property owners that do, we're offering 90-day check-ins, so July 1st, October 1st, and then January 1st, which will be those 3 opportunities to show that they're making progress towards a solution, like a true resolution. And then by January of next year, if they haven't reached compliance, then we will start the traditional code enforcement timeline where we're issuing citations, following up on them. And we've listed several other options that we sort of retain as with our department, including daily fines, potentially moving violations, and property liens, which obviously we don't want to get there. And that's why we're offering these very generous but firm timelines for these property owners. And we're willing to work with them. And it's also our hope that through this process, and while we have the attention of these residents, we can start talking about long-term planning for West Glen and asking the questions of, what do you want your neighborhood to look like in 20 years and how do we get there? And, what does that process look like to meet the needs of this neighborhood? And so this is going to be a really collaborative approach, and we're hoping that offering this more generous timeline, but without the flexibility of requiring a case-by-case determination, is going to be the first step towards getting there.
So there's a couple of properties out there that have pretty large shops that obviously they're doing truck repair in. Obviously they can keep the shop, I assume, and on a daily basis, they can use it for repair. I'm kind of confused on where that lands, and I've been asked that question.
Yeah,
So
I'm
just
so-
up to some neighbors that don't want them to be, is there a time that, can they be out there at 2 o'clock in the morning running their diesel truck?
Right. These
repairing?
the abatement agreements will be, we will work with the property owners to find a solution to their specific situation. But on a big picture level, we've talked to, the county road department, we've talked to the city, and we have been told sort of time and time again that driving trucks on those residential roads regularly is not something that's going to be reaching those long-term goals of the neighborhood of having, regular road maintenance. We've been told we're not going to be regularly maintaining those roads if there's going to be commercial trucks driving over them that are not weighted for that road. And so we aren't necessarily going to be telling them to tear down their shop unless it's on someone's, property line. Whereas in which case we can, pursue potentially a variance, or, in some situations, it's just, again, going to be case by case. But at the end of the day, our sort of bottom line answer is that trucks can't go on those roads. So,
That was my
and in the long term, it might even end up being a situation where we have the sheriff's department enforce driving as a moving violation, driving on those roads that they're not permitted to be on in cases where that is.
So do you have to have signage for that?
We do.
We're also
Lower the
picking
signage, okay.
Yeah, and we had a meeting 2 weeks ago, I think, with the sheriffs, with Matt, with the planners and, county council and public works. So public work has recognized that we need additional signage. He's investigating the legal issues there, but overweight trucks and trucks in general aren't designed for those county roads, let alone those smaller residential roads, so.
So in the roads in West Glen, how do we do that when they're not a county road? How do we prohibit trucks on, essentially they're a private road that's for the public benefit?
So we actually asked law enforcement about that and about what we anticipate could be a loophole. And that's why certain trucks can if you can't travel on the roads that get there, you won't get there in the first place, right? So that's one of the issues that we're frankly looking at. But trucks on a public, and those are public roads, not county roads. We really don't have I don't think we have jurisdiction about weight limit. But our concern initially was about parking on those roads. They're still parking in a residential neighborhood, which is still in violation.
Yeah, that's in violation, but the truck traffic, I don't know how you.
Unless Coonsey Road.
Yeah, but
It's
it's
limited.
gonna be considered a farm to market road because there's.
Agriculture.
But not for long haul trucks or the big, I don't know all the trucking terms, but those commercial trucks, but our code amendment that you'll see next month also includes, Landon has been helping with that, some language that would allow a single truck, if the truck, not the whole unit, is the mode of transportation, right? So if a landowner doesn't have a passenger vehicle, or if they do, but the truck is their mode of traffic, they could drive it. But to your question, Commissioner Drago, about working on the shop, that's a commercial trucking business, which is not allowed and has never been allowed in any of our residential zones. It gets to be a slippery slope and it's hard to capture that. That's why we've taken this more comprehensive review. We've heard from a large group of folks who've operated trucking businesses. We're on a second generation of trucking businesses, and some folks purchase property there. I think the reason we went to this neighborhood approach last year is because it's really difficult to enforce. And I think we've been a little inconsistent historically about how we enforce those in any neighborhood, right? It's just the West Glen has a really concentrated neighborhood, lots of those. The folks who received the letters, and Landon followed up starting last fall with a letter that says, we're really serious about compliance. And then the next one was, you need compliance by the 12th. And it was on the 11th that we finally heard from landowners who said, I don't want a ticket, what can I do? So we have their attention. We're just looking for a positive path forward. And I really like the idea of the voucher. And we wanted to provide this opportunity to get, not the voucher, the stipulated agreement. What are we calling them? The abatement agreement. Thank you. As kind of gauge your thoughts about that. You wouldn't be involved as the board, but just to sort of let you know. The one group that we have not heard from very vocally are the folks historically we have heard from. And those are the people who do not want to live next to a trucking business. They purchase property in a residential zone so they could live there. And they don't show up, but that's really our duty as planners and public officials to make sure that we're protecting everybody's property values based on what's allowed in that zone. We've been reaching above and beyond. Landon and I have called and contacted 3 different large farms and some smaller farms. If it's a farm truck, it's a use allowed in an exclusive farm use zone. If 51% or more is related to farming, there is an alternative for some of those people. We've heard lots of issues also about prices of property for commercial or industrial zones. Very high. Those folks can't really afford it. That's another reason why the abatement, give them a longer term over the course of the next year, will work with you instead of just issue a citation. We've also had a few meetings with the city of Boardman. It's become an issue. So a few folks have moved out of West Glen into the city, and they're not allowed in the city either, unless it's in an industrial zone. And there's a limitation on where they could put those. Talk to the Port of Morrow. The Port of Morrow, it's not on the top of their list to manage these, but if a enterprising business person wanted to lease a piece of property and manage all those contracts, they're amenable to that. So it's going to take a little initiative on some of these people's part. And clearly we don't want to run anybody out of business, but we also need to protect everybody's property value.
Well, I think, I like what you guys are doing, I like the approach where, I don't know, is this being tried at other places with other planning departments, or you kind of breaking ground, or?
The neighborhood approach?
Well, the helping people, instead of just going out in the traditional fine them and, confiscate or whatever you do, is it, because it's tough bringing a neighborhood back. I mean, it's like, you got all this history and everybody's ingrained and all this stuff, I get that. I just wondered if people are trying, if you're picking up ideas, because I think it's good the way you try to help people. And I hope though, I always wondered why if the port could, they help big businesses a lot. And maybe take a look at helping small business sometime, and get involved there, I don't know. But I like it.
Well, thank you very much. I know that we did the neighborhood approach when I was in Umatilla County with some success. But you got to be vigilant with code enforcement because it's job security. It never goes away completely. I know that
other jurisdictions in more rural areas, it seems to be a little bit more difficult because you probably know this person. Maybe we're just more compassionate. I don't know. But I do think that collectively, which is why I wanted all of us here today to share. And again, we're doing this without a compliance planner, and that position is posted. So it's even more so. And I hope they see it as going out of their way. That's not always the feedback we get.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are right at home today here, huh?
Yeah.
Chair Sykes, just to make a comment, I do appreciate the planning taking this on. This is a huge issue. It has been magnified because of decades of passive enforcement. And so taking it on here, I have given them some directions. While they've been good at providing options, I've told them we're not to solve it. Because that's what they sometimes gonna wanna say, well, county, get us a big lot, park it there. Well, then suddenly we're dealing with petrol leaking from all these different trucks. Irrigan and Boardman have asked to kind of meet with the county to kind of look at a holistic approach. And even the port, as they said, the port would be interested, but they want someone to come in, rent the land, take that responsibility, and they don't want to deal with 50 different individuals. One thing that I do want to address with the commissioners is in the past, we get complaints from that neighborhood about road conditions and that. And out of the goodness of the heart, the county would take a grader or a blade down there and just hit the road. I've instructed the public works not to do that because it's not our roads. There's liability issues. And we would hope that we could consider, especially with the study that we're just going to be approving and doing well studies, that this might be grouped under a development of a local improvement district where we get water, sewer, and then put roads in there. And whether that's the county and the city bringing some funds to the table and helping this neighborhood create a good community, which then would be public roads and public water and public sewer, is an option. So just let you know, if you do get calls saying we need a blade down there, I've given direction not to do that. And I appreciate the planning working within the constraints I've given them, because they'd like to solve everything. I know they do, but I've told them we can't solve them, but we can provide them options. Don't just be the stick. Say, look at some things, and they've really been trying to do that. So I do appreciate the planning, especially being a little bit short-staffed on that. So
I know these roads, we went in AOC, we went down to, I think it was Marion County.
Yeah, for county college.
Yeah. And you just mentioned public access roads and all the road masters. One guy didn't even want to talk about it. I asked him questions. He just, I think it was Jefferson County, I forget, the one, Pineville or somewhere, but there was one there that had done a lot of them, and I talked to him quite a while. And he sent me a bunch of information, on it wasn't your model of everything together, but how to just do a public. It wouldn't seem to me that if you did a improvement district for roads, that to send I don't know, was a blade need to go in there every year, or what do you think, Roy? Or one?
well, it's exact. I mean, the dirt roads, they don't have a crown. There's ponding. There's and then you have the heavier trucks running down it, and so and you just they get bad.
Well, yeah, I mean, but whatever. I mean, the county used to go in there, and Burke O'Brien used to just tell them to do it. But I'm just thinking, I wouldn't think it would cost much to maintain just a basic gravel road, would it, once you get it up to speed? I mean,
Depends on if you're letting truck traffic on or not. If the trucks continue to
If
go.
there's a base and
Yeah.
every year you're probably gonna need to add some gravel.
Add gravel to it.
I mean, I live down, it's probably close to a quarter mile, or at least a good eighth to a quarter private gravel road. There's 13 houses served off of it. And fortunately, one of our neighbors bought a road grader, and he will blade it a couple times a year, and it needs that at least. And then when it needs some gravel, like every year or every other year, one of the neighbors at the end comes around, sends out a little letter and says, hey, we're collecting money for gravel. Will you be willing to pitch in some money? So some of us do. I know some don't. And then we end up getting a few loads of gravel put on it. And
Well, you know, I mean, at Blake's Ranch, we pay a certain amount, and, I mean, that covers snow removal.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know, they managed to take care of their roads to an extent, I mean, you know, but it's nothing to brag about up there, but, you know, anyway.
And there's a bunch of different options, and as we start to put down compliance and requirements, there might be political pushback in, hey, we've been doing this for 25 years. Why are we changing it? And there are options to allow that, but it's with overlays and complicates things and really doesn't solve the issue. It just allows the problem to continue. So just to let you know, there might be some voices come back to the commissioners, say, but for right now, we're following what the ordinances prescribed in the county are.
And I'll just add, and I appreciate we're probably gonna have to have somewhat regular interdepartmental collaboration on this issue, on that neighborhood, and any neighborhood where we have a larger number of issues. It also happens to be a neighborhood where the well testing has shown, I think, universally really high. And not just because of that, but because it's really, as planners, it's the right thing to do. So as Daisy said, and obviously she's very excited about it, we're there to look at maybe a neighborhood master plan. So what do you want your neighborhood to look like 10 years from now? And dream about it. We'll be realistic. And before you start thinking about who's going to pay for a road improvement, let's establish what it would look like and what the purpose of a residential zone is. The informational meeting that we have next week, the city of Boardman will be there. We're not just passing this off to Boardman. We already made one error because we said, well, look for commercial and industrial zone property in Boardman, and Boardman said commercial isn't the right zone. So we retract that, and it won't be solved overnight. That's why I think Daisy's idea for an abatement agreement, it works really well.
When you're working in a neighborhood like that, your experience, I know you're not an expert, but do you find like a social structure where there might be one or two families that are kind of have influence and could make things happen out there, or is everybody just kind of on their own, or do you find?
Interesting.
I mean, could you go to one or two people, you know, families, and say, hey, we want you to put together a master plan or help us, you know, and do the translation and all that stuff, and kind of get people organized? Is that something that happens, or?
I think sometimes that happens organically, if you will, in a neighborhood where you have one or two people who are leaders. One interesting observation that we learned is that those folks aren't really keen on the idea of sharing a property or renting space from somebody else. And I can appreciate that. They own their property, they live there, they park their trucks. It's, you know, they don't have to pay an additional payment. But we even researched some sites in other, like in Umatilla County, and they don't want to rent from those property owners. So that's their choice. But whether or not you have somebody who's willing to lead the charge, I don't know. So we're at the same time trying to be firm and clear about the code violations and building trust so that we could look for solutions, not just about code compliance, but their roads, about their drinking water. Are there any natural born leaders? There's a few who've really spoken up nice. And for the most part, everybody's been collegial and polite. A few folks are, you know, more agitated and less diplomatic. So.
Any other questions?
You will continue to get questions about this. We're pretty confident.
No, I like hearing about it. I think it's a unique way you're going at it, and I think it's the best way, and makes for good community, and, you know, just, you know, fine and, you know, force, and you know what I mean? Trying different things. I think it's good.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you. For
Yeah. That's all. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Okay, Finance Department quarterly report. Kevin, you just have a written report there? or-
Yeah.
Okay, so we have our written report. And then a correspondence that concludes the department reports. Correspondence.
There were 2 letters, well, there was a thank you card from the neighborhood center And it's addressed to the treasurer, but it's really meant for the board. Just thanking you guys for the contribution. And they're struggling with, lack of food and funding right now. So I thought I'd stick that in there to help raise awareness.
Thank you.
And there was that other one from
Is that the
Tom.
Hebner Food Pantry?
Yeah. The other letter.
Are they still working together with the other food pantries? I know for a little while,
Yeah.
there's some good coordination there and I was hoping they continue.
Yeah, I'm on that board. I go to all those meetings, almost all of them, because they're real, I mean, they got a lot of volunteers. They're, they'll stretch it all into, extremes. And, but they've been without a person, she quit. And so they've been looking for somebody, but the Kelly, the one that's kind of the second in command, she's been doing a good job keeping it all together. And Nina is the chair of the board. And she cares deeply about that place. It's her baby and she does a lot of volunteer. They asked the county to help them. They were wanted to put in some parking blocks, and I went to Matt, and he got that arranged, and they're always very thankful when I go, thank you. So I never pass it on to you guys. I just take it on myself.
There you go. You sign the documents, you get the thing.
Yeah, right there.
And that's why the thank you card was addressed to the treasurer.
They do appreciate the county's help on things because, and they'll do things on their own, like with the parking blocks, I gave them, the Public Works contact information, and so they're gonna contact them and arrange when they're gonna have the blocks there and kind of take, they're very self-sufficient group. So anyway. Okay, that's it with our correspondence. Okay. Next, we'll have our commissioner reports. Jeff, you got anything to?
No, was it last week or went down to the Dalles for a PRIA meeting. But nothing really to report out from there. It's just the regular updates and some presentations on projects going on.
Yeah, and I mean, I was on with Senator Finley Tuesday, and obviously that's where I got the information about the fire disaster stuff. It's been hard to make people whole or get hurt in those instances. A lot of legislature stuff that didn't get addressed. There was some main, group topics. We went to the Greg Smith, the Measure 110 meeting and had a good meeting. Yeah, had a good meeting on Saturday. Everybody seems, and there was a good turnout. We had 5 counties.
Yeah. 5
counties that showed up and school teachers and school board members for Umatilla County and Morrow County. And it's a far-reaching thing.
So to add on something there is that was, I guess, was interesting is there was a lady there that there's pretty much everybody there that spoke said, they felt that the experiment was a failure. We need to do away with it. But the one lady that stood up and spoke, she says, I'd voted for this and it isn't working out. It needs to be changed. So I did find that interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting. Okay. I think it's, I think most people realize it wasn't put out like it was put out to the voters. It came across a whole different monster. So it's got a lot of strength and I don't think we'll see it going back to a Class A misdemeanor, but that's really what the hope is, if we repeal it, Class A misdemeanors. And there was some other stuff in there, but
So I don't really have much to report. Matt asked me, I've been sitting in with him on interviewing the assistants. And got a lot of good, I think, a lot of good in there. So we're gonna have some more Friday. So that's moving along. I don't have much else.
So I guess next Tuesday will be a CDA meeting. Be in person at the port.
Right.
Greg may be remote, but
Yeah.
there may be movement on transferring of property.
Oh, that'd be great. Okay. The CREZ, I'll give a short report on CREZ too. We need to go and have lunch for one. The CREZ Greg Sweet resigned. And, I noticed in my office this morning, I think it was, he dropped all his, I've always had his files up there, so he gave me the key to the files. So I'm kind of watching it. I set up his laptop and I'm keeping track of his emails until we find somebody. So I've been out encouraging people to apply. So if you know anybody that's good, ask them to apply. I don't know when that application closes though.
I think we
It's
had it
open
open,
until-
open until it was filled.
Filled.
That was-
His had closed at one point,
Yeah.
no
Yeah,
applications.
no applications. Okay.
Yeah. I wasn't in the meeting, but I was there to listen to it, so.
Yeah.
And then do we have a CREZ 3 meeting tomorrow
Yes,
at 3:30?
yes.
Okay, well, anything else? Come before the commission? Then we'll adjourn and sign documents and be back here at 1 o'clock. And, hold on, let me check. 2 of them.